You're in the danger zone.
I love the show. I love you guys. Fucking, let's go Jets. Jets, Jets.
Oh, I'm beating you with my mind. And I can still dominate, I think.
Dane, you're a legend, bro.
What up? What's going on? Welcome to the Danger Zone, guys. Me and Murph back at it again. Another Friday night. What's up with you, man?
Oh man, just glad it's the weekend, man. I'm excited to sleep tonight. Is that bad, or are we getting old? Am I getting old? I'm excited to go to sleep, man. But even before that, I'm excited to do this show. This is a idea I very last minute pitch to you last night, and props to you, man, on getting all these slides together and stuff. I know you put a lot of work into that type of stuff, and you're pretty good at it, relatively speaking. And I think it's going to be a fun show. It's going to be a lot of discourse, and I think it's kind of like the last hoorah, because I have a feeling that next week we're probably going to get some news one way or another. So
you know what? And let Scott let me know how that is. I did bump it up a little. New mic, still working out some kinks, but ready to go, man. And I remember the last time we did a big ass slideshow together. I think it was like June. We were predicting the final 53 heading into training camp. And that went well too, man. That was fun.
That was a fun show.
It was, man. But you're right. Last minute, man. If I should have thought about it sooner, because honestly, if we wait next week, we're gonna be way trimmed down. I feel like 75% of these guys are not gonna get a second interview, and in the next 7 days, we'll be deep into the second interviews. I feel like. I don't know about you, but now's the time. You know.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the best time to do it. Like I said, this is kind of the final hoorah, in a way. And you know me, Dane. I love doing lists. I love doing grades, especially when I don't have to put the work in to make all the slides and shit. So I love doing this type of stuff. I like rankings. I like doing that kind of thing. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. We want to hear back from the chat, guys. We want to hear your opinions on things. I mean, I'm right like 99.9999% of the time, but you know, there always is a time where I'm not. So let me know when I'm not. Usually when I am wrong, it's because I thought I was wrong and I was actually right. So I don't know. I'm excited to get into it. You guys are going to see a lot of names. There's a lot of names out there. The Jets have been busy, boy. I guess that's what you hire that firm for, so you can literally upturn every rock in the NFL to find a candidate.
You know what? Someone made a joke. I feel bad because I don't remember who it was, and I hate doing that where you give someone credits blindly, but too good not to repeat. And they said, with a name like 33rd Team, it sure sounds like they're seeking 33 people between head coach and GM, because I think they have. I think they've scheduled like 34 guys. So they're true to their name, so to speak. Pretty cool.
Yeah. That's really weird. I never thought about that, but I think that I'm pretty sure I read somewhere last night that they had 33 candidates altogether between the two. That is
That's
wild.
crazy. That is
It
crazy.
feels like there's 33 head coach candidates as it is, but
You know, where are you at with the people who are getting butthurt over it? Like, cause me, I'm like, I don't care. Interview 1,000. You know.
yeah, it's no skin off my back. I mean, I'm glad. Like I'm a big fan of the wide net, but I did, Okay, so to be fair, I did. I was watching a clip from Peter Schrager's podcast, The Season, I think it's called, and he was talking to a fella, and I can't remember the name of the guy. And he asked him, he's like, "Well, what's up with these firms?" He's like, "Are they actually a good thing or whatever? This and that. These hiring firms that help you find candidates and stuff." And the guy's like, he said that he's a believer in the firms, but he said that sometimes that you can cast your net too wide and you can look at too many different things rather than just looking at the football aspect and getting your guy. Sometimes casting your net so wide will distract you from what's actually right in front of your face, is the way he said it. So I mean, there's something to be said either way, but I like looking at every possible outcome. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, there's not a ton of candidates out there right now that I'm crazy about. Um, so in a year like this where there's no like for sure thing guy where you're like, oh man, that's, what I mean. There's not like three or four of those guys out there. Yeah, cast your net pretty wide. See what everybody has to say.
The other thing you got to consider too is like we're 14 years, man. 14 years that we've been in the bottom half of the league, and like, what's wrong with getting each guy's? And sorry, I got a dog here. Um, what's wrong with getting each guy's vision off of them in that 30-minute interview or that hour interview? Like, figure out how they would fix this team, and then guess what? You cast them aside for the second round. Because, like, that's where I draw the line, I guess, is don't bring 20 guys into the second round. But you can do 40 in the first round. I don't care, but second round's time to get serious. And I think that's when I want to see single digit guys. I want to see 5 or 6 guys into the second round, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. You go from 25 to 5, like, because you're not going to be serious about 20 candidates. Come on.
Facts.
But you knock it down to 5 and you start talking. I don't want to say X's and O's, but like you start talking about like what are you really talking about? Like who's the candidates you're looking at for OCDC? Who's what kind of coaching staff are you going to build? What are you going to prioritize? All these different things. You really start getting into the nitty gritty in those interviews. I'm with you, man. I agree. We start wide, we narrow it down. I'm assuming that's what they're doing. They're casting the wide net, looking at all these different guys. They're going to hire their GM, bring the GM in. They're going to say, hey, here's a list of guys that we interviewed. Here's, cut it in half. These are guys that we actually are considering. You pick from these 5 guys who you think you can work with, and we'll do a second interviews and see what we're doing. I think that's the approach that they're taking. I hope it is, at least.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll get into the draft stuff. Honestly, in the next week, what I want the GM to be hired. The head coach, I want second rounds to start, but like next Friday, I want to be talking about we're down to 6 head coach candidates and we have a GM. And I really do think we'll get there in the next 7 days.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. That's why I think this is perfect timing for us to go ahead and spew our thoughts onto a screen, into a mic, and see what the world has to say about it. Um, I don't know. I think by next Friday we're going to have us a GM.
Agreed. Agreed. All right, so without further ado, let's just, first, yeah, there is further ado. The further ado is going to be welcoming some people into this chat. I appreciate you guys out there. We see you. Stand up and be recognized. Scott Foster, man, bright and early. I saw Stack in here too. Both before we started rolling, which I don't know how big of a flex is since I'm always so late. But
Yeah, they were on time. We were just late.
facts. Jesus Jerry out there, man. He came all the way from across the globe to see us, so he gets the gold star. I also saw Red, man. Red, who joined us last week. Red. Hopefully he's available later because I would love to have him come on and give us, when we do our thing about next week, wild card. Shit. Last week we did the wild card round. This week it would be the divisional round. We got to see how that all worked out. Maybe Johnny will come in later, hopefully, and we can get the crew back together. But yeah, Jerry, Red, Scott, a couple others. If I missed you, I'm sorry, but we're gonna get right into it because, dude, it's time to crack. It's 9:19 on the East Coast. See where we're at, man. Got the slideshow. Here we go.
The true time, East Coast.
I guess. And let's see. I'm going to flirt around and see what the best viewing is. You know what? I think we'll leave it like this. Get set up here.
Murdog, what's up, brother?
Murdog, welcome, brother. Ow. All right. So, grading Jets head coach candidate. Please, guys, we're gonna go through this list. We just told you there's some names, man. There's some names. Let us know where you're at when we present a candidate. We're gonna talk about them a little bit, stamp our grade on it. Tell us what your grade is because we would love to know who out there is higher on some of these guys. Everybody's got their favorite, right, Murph?
Yeah, everybody's, and that's the thing. That's why it's such a fun subject to discuss because, there's so many different ways you can look at it. Like I can convince myself of 3 different favorites, like sit here and think about it, if I think too long. So I think it's a fun little thing to have some discourse. Guys, like Dane said, give us your grades too. Like if you want to join in and we'll, if we're freaking idiots, let us know and we'll have a little discourse on it. Type in, but just in case we're going through the slides too fast or something, type in the name beside the grade. That'll help us out, So if it's like Flores B or whatever, whatever it may be, but.
All right. Ricky, dude, welcome, man. Good to see you, man. Right here on the second slide, though, what I did want to include was who is shopping, right? We're going through all the groceries, but we need to know who is going to get them. And right now, we are one of 6 teams needing head coaches. So, hey, maybe one of these other teams out there has a favorite. Hopefully their favorite isn't ours. And dude, the less shoppers, the better the grocery you're going to get, right? Big thing today, and let me get Ricky off my face here. Sorry, give me a second. Big thing today. Yeah, right. Pause, Diddy, whatever. Big thing was that Tennessee hired a GM. And the first takes you heard out there was, damn it, it's Borgonzi. It's someone we wanted. It's not the only guy that would have been good here. That's the key. But the bigger key I want to convey is you can look at it, damn, there's one less guy to choose from. But the best way of looking at it is there's one less job for all them guys. Now, there was 3 teams to choose from. Guess what? Today, there's only 2. We are the only other team besides the Raiders. If you want to be a GM, us or the Raiders, that's all you got left.
Yeah, and a point that I want to put across too is like we can sit here and debate because Dane and I had talked about it last night. We're like, should we include GMs? And and it's like, can you really like heartily fight for a certain GM or not? Like because we really have no idea how these guys are going to be in that role because most of these guys have never done it before. There's been a few that have some experience, but like we have no idea what they're going to be like or what their ideals are going to be. We're not the ones sitting in the interviews, guys. So like there are guys that I like more than others, but for me to sit here and stamp my name on one guy, like particularly, no. Like Gort, is it Gort? What the hell's his name again? The Tennessee GM they just hired.
Borgonzi.
Borgonzi. I was trying to say Gorbonzi. Anyway, Borgonzi. Yeah. I'm glad he's fucking Gonzi because I can't say his name. The guy, he had a solid resume. Okay. So, like, I wouldn't have been upset if we'd have hired him, but I'm not like falling over a cliff because the dude's gone. There's no reason to be like that. Like you said, there's only one other opportunity other than us to be a GM, and there's a lot of candidates out there still, and a lot of them have good backgrounds, right? So I'm not upset about it at all. It's fine. There's no reason to get all butthurt about it. We'll be fine. Now, when it comes to head coaches, we can sit here and argue for days.
And honestly, they're like in the casual fan sense, I like to think, hey, just a heads up, Maddie Main, welcome to the channel, man. Glad to have you. I just got a notification that you just subscribed. Welcome. We are live on Friday nights, man. There's not a lot that are willing to do Friday nights because they have social lives, but I can't speak for Daniel, but I like staying at home, man. But yeah, we're here on Fridays. So we're getting in. Well, let's just rip the Band-Aid off, man. First guy on the list, maybe chronologically too. Donzo, man. Donzo. And
rip.
Yeah, rosary. You got rosaries or whatever.
Yeah.
Ricky Scott. Okay. All right. Yeah. One of our first leading candidates, I would think. I think he would have did well here. Mike Vrabel, that is. He previously coached in Tennessee. I mean, you guys all know. Well, guess what? He is now the head coach of the New England Patriots. What do you, just quick take on that? And do you think it's going to be a regretful action, I guess, not to pursue him harder? Do you think we could have even done anything to steal the guy?
Yeah, the thing about Vrabel, like when it happened, like I was bummed. It's a bummer. I think Vrabel was a solid candidate. He was a guy that I felt like our locker room needed, in a way. Is it the end of the world? Hell no. No, it's not. I think that we were kind of screwed in a sense because we didn't have a GM in place. I think that Vrabel thing could have never happened until we had a GM in place. He's not the type of guy that's going to dive into something and then learn that he has a new boss later on that he may not even like. It makes sense. New England was quick to move. It made sense. They obviously regretted their decision last year by going with Mayo instead of him. And they made up for it by snatching him up now. So, it is what it is. I hope that him and the rest of the organization burns in the fiery pits of the NFL. And that's all I got to say about it. Fuck him now. I don't care.
There's one or two things I want to add, and that's just like what you said, man. He was a strong candidate for us, and I think everybody knows why, man. And I hate to say it because a lot of times, like fans like us, we're seeking what our most recent team needed the most. And I think that's very short-sighted, but I do think that, like, we're susceptible to doing that. Like, we want a coach who's going to come in, he's going to be stern, he's going to clean up the penalties, He's going to establish a culture, accountability. Why? Because that's what we've needed the most the last year or two. So we're going to solely tunnel vision look for those qualities. And I get that. Like that, it makes sense. It's your biggest weakness. You want to strengthen it. But at the same time, that's not the only thing that can work here. But what I will say is we're going to get into some other candidates that I think are cut from the same cloth as Vrabel. And I think they can add exactly what Vrabel could have added. And that's a backbone and identity. So it might be a similar identity to our division rival. And that's okay. That's what I'm trying to say. Like that's okay. We'll get into it all, but the different strokes for different folks, we can use the same stroke, just do it better, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And NFL needs a little more of that anyway, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, they do, especially with the younger generations moving up into the league. Like, it's amazing the clips you hear from these coaches where they're like, okay, these new recruits are like, they've never been told no in their life, and when they have, they just switch teams. They hit the portal. Like, you need to have a backbone nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's not the end of the world. Vrabel, he's gone. I thought he made more sense here than he even did in New England. I mean, I guess I get the New England ties, but but then there's something to be said for the fact that I don't really like somebody that I know as a New England Patriot being my team's head coach either. So, maybe we're better off without.
All right, so let's just skip him then. Obviously, he's hired. So who else we got? Who else we got? Oh man, look who we drew next, man. You know what? I'm gonna let you speak on this one. What do you think first on Jeff Ulbrich here?
I'm gonna start off by saying that I don't have any hatred for Jeff Ulbrich. I think Jeff Ulbrich's a good guy. I think that he's even probably a good coach in the right position. I think that even as a defensive coordinator, he might have been punching above his weight class a little bit, maybe. As a head coach, he was punching way above his weight class, and he was a little in over his head, and he's not fit to be a head coach right now. Who's to say 10 or 15 years from now, with more experience around the league and learning more things and things like that, and after this experience, maybe he would be, but right here, right now, that's a no-no, man. Like I said, I think Ulbricht's a good dude. I think he's a type of guy that, you would be proud of to be a part of your organization, but you're also looking for a guy that's going to win you games, and I just don't see Ulbrich as being that guy.
The other thing is too, and like maybe it should caution us, is that like it seems like whatever you do get once the guy is in the role is a slightly like a watered down version. I don't know if it's just the New York market, but like if we got the Jeff Ulbrich that was as advertised that we knew coming in, I think he might have held on to the role. But like, same with Saleh. Like he came in with bravado and like intensity, and then it's just as time goes, saturated, watered down to where he's like a shell of himself. So like, I guess what I'm saying is like, aim big, because like we don't know what the New York market will do to some of these guys. And when we saw Jeff Ulbrich get his opportunity, I think it beat him down pretty fast. He was also in a shitty situation. It might have been like he probably in hindsight should have said no to the interim job. But we could ramble about Jeff all night. What is your grade? Should we hire Jeff for the 2025 head coaching job?
Well, like I said earlier, I thought he was punching above his weight class. Even as a DC, I was a little worried about that. I really kind of feel like Sala carried him. I don't think that Ulbrich was a big reason for our success. He might have contributed, but um, as a head coach, no, guys. I'm giving him a D minus. Um, and probably the only reason he's not in the F category is because of just some of the intangibles things that I talked about. Like the dude, he's well spoken. He connects to the not teammates, but his his players and things like that. And like he's a good guy, and he is a ball. He's a ball player. He was a ball player. He was a guy with experience actually being on that field. I do think there's something to be said for that, but it doesn't mean he's a good coach. So I'm going D minus. He's one of the lower guys on my list.
You're being generous, I think. Well, I guess there's two schools of thought. It's like, are you grading the candidate, like are you grading the hire or the candidate? Like for me, it's an F. It's an F, and I'll tell you why. I guess each person can interpret it however they want, and I interpret it as if we hire this guy, I'm giving it an F because to me it lacks creativity. You're not like did you really hire a guy that was already there? Like you took a look around the entire horizon and you said, nah, let's just run it back with you. Like F, I'm sorry. I give it an F.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it. Like you're thinking about the situation and everything all involved. We've already seen them, things like that. I'm just like thinking like if I'm thinking of an F coach, like what do you think of when you think of an F coach? Like somebody that's just so blatantly obvious that you should not hire. And you can make an argument for that for him, but like I'm thinking like Adam Gase, like for like
you know what?
you know.
Stay tuned because I have a feeling we'll get to an F.
I think we will too. I think we will too. But yeah,
you know
so
what?
like I said, D minus. He is right down there. He's one of the lowest on my list. Do not hire this guy.
JT, going right back to what we were talking about, like we need to wipe our ass in some spots. Clock management, definitely one of them. But without further, well, you know what? I said stay tuned because we're going to get to an F or two. While you're staying tuned, why don't you smack that like button, guys? Glad to have you, man. Yeah. As Green Bean would say,
yeah, I can never get it out of my head.
milk thumbs. But anyways, let's move right along. See who we got next. Ooh, Mr. Ron Rivera. Thoughts on the former Commanders head coach? He's done some other things in his day. I think most people, though, remember him for when he head coached for the Washington football team. But thoughts on Ron?
So I try to factor in a lot of things when I make when I made these grades. Like I tried to think about like what we're getting out of the person, the potential for a ceiling, potential for a floor. I try to factor in, does this person have experience? Does he not? What's their background in? Is it more defensive, offensive, special teams, things like that? We've seen a lot of Ron Rivera in this league, which is, experience. That's a good thing. And he had a pretty good record there with the Panthers for quite a while. In my opinion, some guys, they run out of their juice, so to say. I think that Ron Rivera is a guy that's out of juice in a sense. I think that it's almost like you only have so many trick plays in the book to get you that score, right? I think Ron Rivera's been out of trick plays for a long time. That's just an analogy, guys. I don't mean that literally. Um, what we saw, and I know he dealt with a lot with the Commanders. Like that ownership thing was a mess. I know he dealt with the cancer and things like that, and thank goodness he's all right. I think Ron Rivera is a decent guy too. I know his players do love him. I just don't. I'm not a big retread guy as it is, and I think that his time in the league as a head coach is done. I think he's out of juice. I got him at a D plus. Do not hire.
Yeah. And you're right, like experience, you can't manufacture it, obviously. However, I think when it comes to a riverboat Ron, as they call him, I think that he's a little too long in the tooth. Uh, I just, dude, I can't shake it, and it's not fair, but I cannot shake the one thing I remember him for is not realizing when and when not his team was mathematically eliminated late in the season. I forget what year it was, and I forget if they were eliminated and he thought they weren't, or they weren't and he thought they were. But regardless, how do you not know that? If you don't know that, how are you going to know when to use a timeout and when not to? And like, it just, I'm sorry. Some guys just need a year off from the league. Like, for instance, I could argue that Tomlin, if he got fired tomorrow, could probably use a year off. This guy, I think that he's just done. Like, he can advise a team. I don't think he should be in charge of a team. So, what was your grade?
I had him at D plus.
D plus. I'm rubber stamping that. I do think that he is a better hire than Ulbrich. I do. But I think that he is lower than a lot of guys we've got coming up. So I'm not going to argue with you there. D plus sounds great. And I think a lot of the chat would agree.
Yeah, I mean, I might have been I might have been a little generous with my D plus seeing some of these comments. Murdoch, not a fan. And I do want to, like, anybody that is in the D or F range is an absolute do not hire for me. If you're in the C range, it's like a take it or leave it. Like, I'm not thrilled about it, but I'm not like overly upset about it. B and A is like, okay, I get it. That's a good hire. Like, A is an excellent hire. You know what I mean? But that's just where my mindset was with it. But yeah, Ron, he can go down the river in his little river boat. He needs to be retirement Ron.
Yeah. You know what? He's so easy to roast, and Oscar may have it. He might be on the money there. He gets a little overhate because again, I think he'd be better to bring in than to run it back with Ulbrich. But again, we got too many. Like, we got candidates, man. We got some meat on the bone. Why are we going for the little wishbone that's in the corner? Nah, I'm good. So, all right, let's move on, man. Let's move on. I said we got plenty to do, so let's see who we got. Oh, man, I feel like we're spinning Y2K's wheel and we just get turd after turd. Oh, no, I shouldn't say that. But the amazing Maryland Terp head coach, Mike Locksley. Daniel, what say you about making him the head coach of the 2025 New York Jets?
I'm not going to spend too much time on this. First of all, I don't like Maryland either. Fuck Maryland, the state and the team. Hell no. He gets the first F of the day for me. The only reason he's not an F minus is that he does come from an offensive background, and that's obviously something that's in my wants personally for a head coach. But he is a very solid F. Get him the F out of here.
And I don't know how savvy the chat is to what exactly this guy's past looks like, but let me just tell you, when you're getting physical with a player, you probably shouldn't even have gotten an interview. But you know what? So, obviously, there's stuff we don't know about that because dude still has a job. Dude just got an interview with the New York Jets. So maybe he is an excellent speaker or there's some context we don't know. But regardless, dude, I think this is the perfect example of a candidate that just has baggage that we don't need to sign up to acquire. And yeah, I gotta put him at F as well. I mean, I can't even argue for it not to be an F.
Yeah, no. If you're trying to push for this guy, then you're just banking on upside that we've never seen out of him. There's just way too many things. His record as a coach has just not been good. Like it's yeah. He had to have saw Woody in a hallway somewhere and shoved him up in the corner and said, "You're going to give me an interview."
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
only thing
You
I
know
can
what?
think of.
And you know what I know Maryland for, dude? NCAA tournament in March. So, I think I might consider the basketball coach before the football coach. But, yeah, regardless, man, we had to get some of these guys off off this list right off the bat. Loxley is one of them. And he's like an F minus. If Ulbricht's an F for me, maybe Ulbricht's an F plus, but what I'm saying is if I'm ranking these guys, I definitely have Ulbricht ahead of Loxley. So
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Next.
all right, so I there's a good portion of these guys that I actually pulled information from Infrared's favorite guy. Wink, wink. Sorry, Red, but this is the first one, and I'm just gonna bring it up, and we'll go full screen on this, and you know what? I'll just read it real quick to you. This was the 14th guy we interviewed. Yeah, 1-4 guys. You heard me right. But some background: one season as the Packers defensive coordinator, Boston College head coach 3 years before that. He was sub 500 by a hair, but he does have college coaching experience, 16 years. NFL, 7 years. Guess what? Local guy, 45 years old. The positives, he has a nice job. He did a nice job with the Packers. They ranked 6th in scoring defense and 5th in yards allowed. Their best statistical year since the Super Bowl year in 2010. Negatives, not much experience on the NFL level, only 1 year as a coordinator. So, it might be a year early on this guy, but a late addition to the Jets coach. This is Jeff Hafley. Daniel, what say you about Hafley here?
For this guy, like, I understand like interviewing him if you're throwing a wide net out there. He's got a lot of experience, at least in the college ranks. Like he's been a coach for a long time. He did do a good job in Green Bay. Like their defense was good this year. It was good. Couple things. Like I said, I haven't been crazy about the idea of getting a defensive guy in here. The lack of experience in the NFL period. It's not even like this dude's been like how Salo was like a team assistant and then he was a linebackers coach and you know what I mean? He had all these different roles and worked his way up. Not even like that. Like the dude just 1 year DC, did a good job. I don't know. It's not enough there. I understand granting him an interview, seeing if he blows you away in the interview. But he's a D for me.
Yeah.
Flat D.
And obviously, like I read you what he's about. He's a defensive guy, obviously. But like we have options of defensive guys that are like tried and true. So like I don't understand how this guy would get a second interview. maybe he does, but it would be like fringe top 5 kind of thing. Yeah, like, I don't know, man. He's over there with Sala now in Green Bay. Like, I don't see it. I don't see this guy being a top 3 or 4 Jet candidate, and I think those are the guys that we have 3 or 4 solid. So I'm good on him. I will say though, like, I do like that he's been coaching almost his entire adult life. I'll say like C minus. Where were you at with the grades?
I was a
Oh,
flat D.
Ricky said C minus. I don't know if he kind of put that in my mind, but when you have a Jordan Love, like, you would think he's gonna not lose the time of possession battle very often. It's not that hard, not that awesome to say that he was top 5 in scoring D. Like, I'm sorry.
It's I feel like there's 100 good defensive coaches out there, like, all the
That too.
time. Like, they're like a dime a dozen, it feels like. I just, this guy came out of nowhere and had one good year with Green Bay. Unless he blew him away in the interview, I don't see him coming back for a second interview.
And I appreciate that, Clancy. It's hard to gauge some of this, and that's understandable. Well, there are guys in this list where I think it's a lot less hard. And
That's what she said.
let me just show you this again, though. We're 1 of 6, and I think that we're going to land someone in our top 5. I do, because there are teams on this list where you couldn't pay me to go to. I think we're a top 3 destination in my eyes.
Yeah, I would say so too. One thing I want to point out, and this has nothing to do with Halfley because he obviously doesn't fall under this, but a lot of people were keep bringing up Rooney Rule for candidates and stuff, and you have to have 2 minority candidates that you interview for a position, blah blah blah. I get it, guys, but I don't want to see that when it comes down to the Jets. Because for one, we've never had any issues hiring minority coaches, Todd Bowles, Robert Saleh, like, things like that. Like, we've already proven that Woody doesn't care about that. Also, we interviewed like fucking 25 people. So like, that Rooney Rule's been met a long time ago. So forget the Rooney Rule when it comes to if any of these guys pop up on the list, like, it doesn't matter. They're just casting a wide net, and we'll see who we catch, but I just wanted to put that out there.
And just to, like, because I get it, Clancy said, Love didn't even play that great, but it's just the way their offense is designed. Like, let's put it this way. They were 10th in the NFL in time of possession on offense. 10th. So, like, I think you're going to have a decent defense if you're on the field less than every team but 9 others, So again, we're splitting hairs because that's what the name of this game is. What I would say is I want to see you do that on a poor team, or a team that doesn't have a decent offense. Then you might catch my eye a little more. That's all I'm saying.
Well, can I ask you, would you be upset if they hired him as head coach? Just straight up, like tomorrow, Jeff Halfley, head coach of the New York Jets.
I would if, like, some of the heavy hitters get snapped up in the next week, and then I warm myself up to him. But to hire him right now ahead of guys that I think are clearly better, I would be upset. Yes.
Okay. I mean, that's sound logic, but to me, like, in my mind, if I see that they hire Jeff Halfley as our head coach, I'm going to be a little upset about it. And that's why he's in the D range and not in the C range.
There's a guy on this.
Is like, okay, I can take it or leave it. Like, but
there's a guy I didn't even put on this list that I would be less upset if we hired, and that guy is John Gruden. And that's saying a lot because I'm not a Gruden guy, but I just think if you're not going to take one of these gems that are in front of us, take a guy like Gruden rather than to gamble on a half. Like you said, one good year at this level. There's no way he should have a cornerstone team in this league. Or, I don't know. Go coach in Jacksonville, then talk to us,
Yeah. Go experiment down there.
Yeah, man. We should not be experimenting. Like,
No, we are the last team that needs to experiment. That's for sure.
All right, moving along. I did want to hit Halfley a little bit because I feel like it's a name it didn't resonate with me, and that's because he only had a fiery year, But
yeah,
on to the next.
Now there's a name you recognize.
That is definitely a name that I recognize. Let me just read you a little bit about him real quick. So this guy was the 10th interviewee, which I don't think you can really glean much about because, hey, he was in the playoffs, so we couldn't interview him much sooner than that. But anyways, Broncos DC since 2023. So the last 2 years, he was the DC for Sean Payton over there. Went 11-21 as their head coach, too, in 17 and 18. Also served as DC for Miami and Arizona. Started 6 games at cornerback for the Jets in 1995 as an undrafted free agent. So I think he's got a little character there, man. If he made it a little bit as an undrafted guy, but he's also interviewing with the Raiders, the other team that also needs a GM. Previous head coach experience is a positive, obviously. Terrific defensive coach. Orchestrated a top 11 defense in his last 3 coaching stops. So he's done it in numerous places. Like you said, a household name. Negatives, though. He inherited a Denver team 2 years removed from a Super Bowl title and finished in last place after Peyton left. No experience with offense. That you tell that to a Jet fan and they're jumping off a rooftop, I think. Current season ended with a thud, a blowout playoff loss in Buffalo. So he's kind of backing his way into this interview. What do you think about Vance Joseph?
Vance Joseph. That's a guy that I have respect for as a coach, but I don't look at this guy as a head coach. There's Buffalo Jet fan in a lot of his videos. He tends to, and I've kind of referenced this already about like punching above your weight class type things. He always talks about how there's a lot of guys in the league that tend to be in positions higher, like one step higher than where they should be, like where they're actually good at coaching at. And this is a guy, like, if you look at him as a head coach, then he is higher than where he needs to be. This guy should just accept the fact that he's a defensive coordinator, and he should just be with the team for a long ass time, making a good bit of money as a good defensive coordinator, and just settle for that. That's where he needs to be. They don't need to look at him. He's been there, done that. He didn't succeed then. He's not going to succeed now. He's a freaking defensive guy again. There's just no need for it. I got him at a D+. I would be upset if they hired him. Don't hire Vance Joseph. Like I said, respect the guy, respect him as a coach, as a defensive coordinator, but that's not a guy I want to be as our head coach.
Yeah, and I'm with you, man. I can't argue the D. Like, I can't argue the D. No Diddy. I don't know. Maybe that is Diddy. Who knows? But anyways, the only thing I consider with him is like household name, been around the league, numerous stops, doesn't know offense. Do you think maybe he can recruit some offensive guy? Like it's a well-respected name. Does he have better luck recruiting an offensive staff than a guy like Halfley? I think yes. So, and I don't know if you're considering stuff like that, but when I factor that in, I gotta edge him into the C's. So I'm going to just go straight C for Vance Joseph. And not just solely for him, but for who I think his entire staff would be once he got settled in.
And see, and that's why, like for Halfley, I had him at a D. I got Joseph as a D plus. The difference between that D and that D plus is literally just that Vance Joseph has done it longer. You know, he's got experience, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you're getting the, like, because he has experience, he's met a lot of guys in the league. Maybe he can build a better coaching staff, maybe, but he hasn't done it. He hasn't done it before.
Correct.
You know,
correct.
So I would be upset if they hired him. So therefore, he is below the C range. He's a D plus.
I'm with you. And like I said, we got a bunch of names. I think we said about all we can say about Joseph. So, hey, Snowball in the house. Welcome, brother. Jets World. Why? I think I even have and I don't know if this works or not, but wide. They're supposed to be.
It definitely worked, and it tripped me out there for a second. I was like, "What the hell just happened?"
But on to the next one. Let's see who the wheel has for us. The fictional. Oh boy. I don't know if I have a tweet about old Rex here. I do. Damn it. Looks like I got to read to you about Rex.
Did we need a tweet about Rex?
We didn't, but I threw this one for infrared. All right, some background, guys. We know Rex Ryan. I mean, unless you're Connor Long, you know Rex Ryan. But head coach, man, spent 5 or 6 seasons here. In end of the 2010s. Hot on the scene. Took a rookie quarterback. You know what he did? He came in and he was a known name like a Vance Joseph. People followed him. And he assembled an epic staff around him. Guys like Dennis Thurman, Mike Pettin, Westhoff. Like, some of the names on his coaching staff, man, just awesome. And Mark Sanchez was probably the weak link, but guess what? What did he do? He won 4 playoff games in 2 years with a ton of bravado, a ton of entertainment. Anyways, then he went to Buffalo. Ugh. But hey, you got to include that because that is his story. But since 2016, nothing, man. Positives: culture builder, will instill toughness and confidence. I don't doubt that. Elite defensive coach, can learn from past mistakes. See, he couldn't on the job. So I think that it's a bit, I don't know, presumptuous to say that, especially considering he hasn't even handpicked his staff yet. But anyways, negatives: out of the game for almost a decade, 27 and 36 in the last 4 seasons at head coach. Blind spot when it comes to offense. Yeah. Who's his OC? Been there, done that. Thoughts on Sexy Rexy, Daniel Murphy?
This is one of the more polarizing guys for us because we all love Rex, right? Rex gave us some good years. 2. Gave us 2 good years, and they were good years. I mean, we didn't win a Super Bowl. We didn't even make it to a Super Bowl, but they're good years for Jet standards. Rex, he was an excellent defensive coach. He brought that bravado that we all loved. He wasn't afraid to snap back. He wasn't going to kiss Belichick's rings, all that. We loved it. We all ate it up, and I'd probably eat it up again, to be honest with you. But the thing about Rex is, I hate to give Dick Chimney any props, but that's a very well put together tweet because it was literally all my thoughts. Like he's going to instill the toughness. There's going to be confidence. He's going to bring the bravado. He's a heck of a defensive coach. Like, those are good things, but the negatives, whoo, buddy. I don't like bringing guys in that have been out of the league for a while, but like quarterback, head coach, like guys that have taken a couple years off, things like that. because I really feel like you kind of lose it. You kind of lose touch of the game after you've been away from it for a little bit. I'm not crazy about doing that. And when he was with us, if he didn't have a freaking line full of Hall of Famers, we did not have an offense. Plain and simple. And you cannot expect that year in and year out to have that caliber of an offensive line. So I don't, and plus today's league isn't really much of a running league anymore anyway. Like his style, that ground and pound with good defense, the league has gone away from that. Could that win you some games? Maybe. But I don't know, man. I can see him coming in here and 4-year contract, and he only makes it 3 of the years, and we have a different OC all 3 years.
Yeah.
We've like Rich said, been there, done that, man. And guys, like I said, I love Rex too, but I want to continue to love Rex. I think we need to keep him on that shelf. Let him be that guy that we all appreciate. He took us to back-to-back AFC championships, and he ran his mouth a lot, and we all loved it. Let him be that guy. Don't let him get any worse, because if he comes back, it's going to be worse. And it was already bad enough if you look at it, 46-50 with us, guys. He didn't even have a winning record with us. Come on.
You know what?
But I have him in the take it or leave it category. I got him at a C-.
C-, man. That's hard to believe. If you asked us, 10 years ago when he was in Buffalo, if we could get him back, I think we all would have taken him then even. But, there was a time in my life when I wanted Rex for life, and I'm not afraid to admit that because times were just that good at certain points. His press conferences daily were like the best content ever. Like literal, like Hard Knocks in the presser daily, like such a bubbly guy, so charismatic, so funny, such bravado. Man, the one thing I'll say that just, he does not have the same advantage that he had coming in here in 2009. What was that advantage? He was coming from Baltimore, man, where like he was plugged into the league. They all knew him. They all loved him. He hasn't been. He's not going to be able to recruit the veterans like he used to. Like, most of the league don't even really know him other than being on ESPN. At least know him coaching-wise. So, like, I still think he's a good candidate for where we are. Like, here's what I struggle with. Am I grading him for, like, a 4-year candidacy? Or am I grading him for 2025 alone? It's a different grade in each scenario.
Who the hell wants to hire a coach for 1 year, Dane? Come on.
I know. All I'm saying, okay, if the world was going to end after 2025, I think Rex would be in my top 5. But since we don't know that to be the case, but it's still going to be higher than you, man. And I didn't think this coming into tonight, but like...
You're positive as hell.
No, I just think that 2025 is going to need interesting characteristics to be deemed successful, if that makes sense. Because if we eat all $49 million of Aaron Rodgers' money next year, dude, it might spoil whatever coach is there. And I mean the bad spoil, not the good spoil. In that idea, like if I'm burning 2025 down, yeah, put Rex there because vibes will be above the pits of hell. And then you know what I mean? Like as a rental coach, I think he'd be a great hire. But if we're stuck with him longer than that, like you said, you're not hiring anyone for 1 year. I got to factor that in. And
that spark runs out quick, man.
Yeah. So with that said, I'm going to say C-. But his ceiling and his floor might be the widest of any candidate that I see here.
I don't know about that. I think I would go with a first-time head coach for a high ceiling, low floor. But we're in lockstep on our grade at least. We have a lot of similar thoughts on it. Like I said, they hire Rex. I'm gonna be like, all right, bring him back. Let's do it. But I don't think he's gonna be successful with us. So I would rather
Nah.
stay away from it if I could.
I agree. All right, moving right along. That was, like you said, a polarizing candidate. So, chat, let us know. I know we got some quick quotes about Rex. We actually had Clancy give him as high as a B. We had some others give him a D. So, a range. That's all I'll say. But you got Murdog. He's blunt, man, like a hammer. I like it.
That's my God.
But all right, moving along. Number whatever. Oh, another guy that has a nickname. People like to insert the D. No Diddy. Bobby Slowick, whatever, however you want to say it. Slowick. All right, I do have another tweet here. Let me just get straight to that. All right, so number 12 on the chronologically report. Background: Houston OC since the last 2 years he's been in Houston, offensive coordinator for D'Amico down there. Before that, he spent 6 seasons with the Niners. Not bad. Serving as their pass game coordinator. Okay. Jersey native, grew up in Green Bay, played wide receiver for Michigan Tech. Who cares about that last part? Shanahan coaching tree, though. Brilliant job last season with CJ Stroud. I can't argue that. He did do a great job with Stroud as a rookie.
Yeah.
Drew head coaching interest last year. But, we saw how this year went. It brought him down a little bit. So, if Stroud has another killer year, he might be top couple on our list. But Houston's offense regressed this season. Wildcard win notwithstanding. Has the league figured him out? Jets are the only team to request an interview. That is damning. But he's only 37. So, take all that into account, Murph, and chat. Where are you guys at? What would you grade the hiring of Bobby Slowick for the New York Jets in 2025?
I don't like his face. No, but it's funny how the league works, man. If he had actually considered seriously like coaching, being a head coach last year, he may have had several like actual chances. I know the league was really high on him last year, and rightfully so. Like you said, he did an excellent job with Stroud last year. It takes a lot to bring in a rookie quarterback and make him excellent. I mean, to make him competent is enough, but to make him excellent like he was that year, that says a lot. Positives like the being from the Shanahan coaching tree is always interesting. We've seen a lot of successful coaches come out of that tree, at least on the offensive side. I think that he's an intriguing candidate. He's an offensive guy, so obviously that's a plus for me. That bumps him up for me. He's young. He's mostly been with Shanahan. He's only had 2 years away from him, and he's starting to regress now. So you kind of wonder, can he do it by himself away from that staff? He's been around some good defensive coaches. He's working with D'Amico right now. He's been around Saleh, so he knows what a good defense looks like. I don't think that it's a horrible idea. I'm not jumping out of my seats if they hire him. I got him at a C+.
And you're right, like you said. Well, even Samini said, great performance with Stroud last year. I mean, we just got done talking about Rex and what he did with Sanchez. Hey, stop it. 15 years ago, he took Sanchez to win in some playoff games, and that was a feat, pun intended. Slowick, man, Stroud won Rookie of the Year. What happened this year, man? How much credit do you give Slowick? I give him some. D'Amico, though. D'Amico is the one that gets the majority of credit for me. Solid guy. Slowick is up there. He's not in my top 5. He's not outside. He's like fringe top 10 to me.
I got him top 10.
Do
for
you?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
The thing about it is though that worries you is because the Texans were supposed to be even better this year, at least on the offensive side of the ball. They brought in, I mean, the receiving core, on paper going into the season was just insane, and then they bring in Joe Mixon too, who's a pretty studly running back. There was just no reason for them to regress like they did, and they did. And it's just kind of like, it's alarming, so it soured me on them a little bit.
I like what Samini said about that. He said the playoff win notwithstanding, because if they drew anyone else in the playoffs, they weren't going to win that game. And you saw the first quarter, first half even, the Chargers had a pick or two, a couple forced fumbles. Then they just shit the bed. So, I don't know, man.
Yeah, the Texans and the Chargers were the worst two teams in the playoffs on both NFC and AFC. They happened to play each other, so...
Well said. Scott Foster, he says, hold off on hiring him until he reaches puberty. I like that, Scott. Good one. Infrared is joking about what I said about Rex. Like I said, man, next year, and let me hit that real quick. I worry, man, because there's already 50 million dead next year. And that's not counting Rodgers. It's going to be a shit year financially. So, how do we curb that? Get a guy that can bring in guys on a discount somehow. And that's being a known name, not like a upstart. Rex, I don't know. Anyways, couple C's in the chat. I'm going to go C+. Maybe before this conversation, I would have had a B- on him, but the fact that Stroud definitely took a step back from the year before, sophomore slump, so to speak, and that's his job pretty much. I mean, who else you pin in that job to? I have to knock him for it. So, yeah, I'm going to go C+ on Bobby Slowick. Weird name.
Solid grade. Yeah. You've put that comment up there, and I was reading, and as I was reading, lay off the fentanyl, I heard you say 50 million dead. I was like, wait a second, did we get off of football? What's going on here? I was messed up there for a
50
second.
million dead. I got you, man.
All right. C+. The guy, I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't be but I'm not jumping out of my seat for him either. I would be excited to have an offensive guy in there, but at the same time, I think there may be a couple others that are better suited for the job.
Yeah. And we're not far off. I do feel like that there's some cream that rose to the top of our candidate list. Then there's a real fat middle, and then there's a bottom. He's in that real fat middle, if you ask me. But I think he's high on it. Like you said, in your top 10, for me, fringe. So, I mean, 9 to 11, whatever. But moving along, man. Moving along. Who do we have next? Oh, I think one of the most polarizing guys on this list outside of Rex, Arthur Smith. And I could stop and wait for you to give me some quips or some one-liners. I'm sure the chat has them. Go ahead and cue them up for us. But I'm not going to read all this, but let me just hit the main points here. Background, obviously, he was the defensive coordinator, right? Or I'm sorry, the OC for the Steelers this year. Before that, we all know him from being the head coach of the Falcons. I know you guys know that there was some issues with how he was using Bijan Robinson as a rookie. That's what I remember the most about his Atlanta stint. But he was one of the hot candidates in the 2021 coaching cycle. Showed promise with the Titans when Derrick Henry and Tannehill were cooking. Falcons were the third least penalized team in his 3 years down there, so that's something. Smith and Nagy are the only offensive-minded candidates with prior experience on our list. So if experience is a prerequisite for you and you want offense, him and Nagy, that's all you got. Except maybe what we interviewed today. That might have changed things. Maybe. I don't know. We'll get into that. But his Atlanta offense never ranked higher than 17th in yards. Why is 17th important? Because higher than 17th means you're in the top half. He's never been with Atlanta in his 3 years at Atlanta. So, dude, and they had Pitts. They had London for some of that. Bijan, I don't know, man. In fairness, he caught the tail end of the Matt Ryan era, and there wasn't a good succession plan, and I agree with that. Worked wonders with Russell Wilson this season, though, until he didn't. Wilson crashed, and the Steelers failed to score more than 17 points in any of their last 5 games. They couldn't score 3 touchdowns after, mid-December? Like I said, one of the most polarizing guys. Take the mic, man. What do you think of Arthur Smith?
Well, good old Artie Smith. I'm not a fan. I'm going to be honest. I found him a little intriguing back in, what was it? The 21 cycle is what he said. Yeah, back then I was like a little intrigued by him. After seeing what he did in Atlanta, it really turned me away from him. You mentioned the Bijan, the lack of usage. You got a stud like Bijan back there, you use him. Even though their backup is a good running back too, there's just no reason. You saw it this year with Bijan. He was killing it, man, all year. So there was no reason not to give that guy the ball more. It's not just him, but Kyle Pitts out there, man. You could have utilized him better. There's just no reason. It's just, for me, it's the personnel usage. Like, the guy is so stubborn in his way that he won't adapt to the guys that he has and utilize them properly. That is not a good sign of a good offensive coach to me. Like, you have weapons on the team, you figure out how to use them. That's your job. And he didn't. Like, he chose to run the offense the way he wanted to run it, the way he envisioned it first. Well, as a coach, part of your job is to adapt to circumstances, like to what's going on around you. Oh, we drafted this guy. I wasn't crazy about him, but he is a tall guy that can jump freaking 50 inches in the air and run a 4.4, 40 and all this stuff. Like, okay, use them, figure it out. Like, there's just no reason for that. So I'm sorry, that is the biggest reason for me. Like, if you can't utilize your personnel, we saw it with Saleh. We saw it with Ulbrich. These guys get stuck on guys that they like and guys that they don't like, and they let it become a detriment to the team. And I can't have a coach like that. So I don't want Artie Smith on the team. I'm not going to put him down as like a D or anything like that. I had him as a C-. I wouldn't be having a heart attack if we hired him, but man, I'm not crazy about it.
Yeah, and Clancy had a C- as well. You know what? You guys are right in that pocket, I think, as well as me. I wonder, to be honest, like, because he's a known name, but dude, I don't know, man. That Atlanta stop for me, the tail end of it soured me on him altogether as a head coach, because I don't know, maybe it's because I drafted Bijan Robinson last year in the middle of the first round, and then to see him get like 10 touches in several games, totally sitting out one game, just it gave me Sulla vibes, man. And that's you just mentioned it. Snap count distribution or personnel usage, whatever you want to call it, that's instrumental, man. Who else would know your guys better than you? Like so many times in the Sulla era was I scratching my head at guys that were getting snaps and shouldn't have been, other guys on the sidelines who could definitely help different situations. I think I could take some of the other things like penalties. If I could just get personnel, the right ones being on the field, like that's damning, man. You got to have the right guys on the field.
Yeah, and think about it. Just he mentioned Dick Chimney there mentioned like, oh, he was at the tail end of Matt Ryan, and then like he didn't have a good quarterback or whatever. And it's like, okay, you don't have a good quarterback, and you draft one of the top tier talents that we've seen in the past decade at running back, and then you choose not to use them. Why not lean on that run game harder? Like that's just not what I don't understand it, man.
I don't either. And
the only reason he's a C range for me is just because he's an offensive coach and he has proven in Tennessee that he could have a good offense. But I can't go any higher than a C- on this guy.
Just for context, guys, too, Bijan only had 214 carries as a rookie on an offense that desperately needed him. I don't know how many games he played, because context is key. Dude didn't have 1,000 yards as a rookie. Just one sec, because I think it's key. Okay, 17 games played. So they gave Bijan 12 carries a game. I don't understand that. So, anyways, you guys said C-. I think I'm damn near D+, man. Maybe D, but I'm going to stick with D+ on Arthur Smith. What keeps him away from an F is that he already failed, and maybe, just maybe, he wants to do things differently this time around.
It's like what Samini said with Rex Ryan. Can learn. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And the chat, I just want to shout out a few people. Harlan Smith is a good OC. As a head coach, he doesn't seem to make it. Yeah, there's a difference. There is a difference. Glenn, I think Aaron Glenn may be on this list. You guys will have to stick around and find out. But in the meantime, smack that like button. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. I know Murph does as well. Let's get to our next one. Ooh, Darren Rizzi, the Rizzler. Do you want to read one for us, Murph?
Yes, sure.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So Darren Rizzi, the Jets completed a head coach interview with Saints interim coach Darren Rizzi, the 8th candidate to interview for the job at the time. Background: he's a Jersey guy, born and raised near MetLife, longtime special team coordinator with the Dolphins for 8 years, overlapping with Mike Tannenbaum. Saints from 2019 to present. He's 54 years old. Hit some of the positives. He sparked the Saints after becoming the interim as they won 3 of their first 4 under Rizzi, finished 3-5. Things went off the rail when Derek Carr broke his hand. Aggressive coach, gained player support, worked under Sean Payton and alongside Dan Campbell. Will interview for the Saints full-time gig as well. Naturally. Negatives: only NFL coaching experience is special teams. Saints haven't been much better than the Jets the last few years, has only won 1 playoff game member of Peyton's staff in 2020. Uh, I'm just going to be brief with this. I feel about Rizzy the same way I feel about Ulbrich. Maybe he proved a little more than Ulbrich as an interim, but I mean, I don't know. I just not feeling him, man. I didn't see anything out of that team that made me feel like this guy's coaching his ass off and he's got those guys playing like they're better than what they are or anything like that. I went D-.
Yeah, this is damn near the bottom for me as well. And it might be a little bit like Ulbrich, where guy didn't really have a strong chance anyhow. But I don't know, man. I wish he could have had Rattler playing a little bit better, but sadly, it's almost like when Rattler did get in, he got rattled. And that's sad, man. It's sad. Because I think most of the folks down there, after, Carr started out the way he did, most of the folks, like, they knew the season was lost, but, like, if you could start, like, get the new kid comfortable under the center, you might be okay with a season like that. But I don't know, man. Rattler in the preseason looked great, and then the longer they had him in through the season, I don't know. I hope that he isn't cooked, like the kids say. Just not something I want to sign up for voluntarily. I'm going to go F on this, and it might be harsh, but I feel like if he wasn't a Jersey guy, he might not have got an interview.
Yeah, I mean, he's not moving the needle for me at all. Like, there's nothing there for me. I got D-. So yeah. Next.
Let's do it. Yes. Agreed. I like this candidate.
There's a name for you.
Yes, sir. Spags, as they call him. We know him, but let's get into it real fast here. Background. Current Chiefs defensive coordinator. And by current, I don't mean the last year or two. He's been there 5 years, guys. Before that, Giants DC for 2 different stints, okay? He was also the Rams head coach. 3 other teams. Age 65. That's key. 65 years old. Anyway, positives. One of the most successful coordinators in history. 4-time Super Bowl champ. Outstanding tactician. It's
tactician.
Yeah, thank you. Did he spell that right though?
Tactician.
I guess so. Yeah. And big game coach, 100% a big game coach, man. Players buy in, dude. Whatever he's doing over there. Anyways, only stain on his record is he went 10-38 as the Rams head coach. 3rd worst winning percentage in history. People forget he was stuck with Sam Bradford for 2 of those years. But 10-38, ugh. Anyhow, dude, he's been fixing his resume the last few years. I know a lot of people have been like Bieniemy or whatever. Like whoever's under Reed is under a microscope for head coaching candidates. Spags, I feel like, deserves it. What do you think of Spags?
So here's the thing. One thing that I really like about Steve Spagnuolo, and Samini did point it out, big game coach. That's something like his first 2-3 years at with the Chiefs. Their defense wasn't necessarily great, but when they got in the playoffs, shoo buddy, they were great in the playoffs. It was like a whole different, like flipping the coin to the other side, man. Like they were excellent in the playoffs. And then even as the last couple years, they've been just excellent all year. He's really built something over there with that defense. Does that mean he can do as a head coach? We don't know. Like you said, the record wasn't great with the Rams. here's my thing. You can be a big game coach all you want, but if you're not getting to the big game, then you ain't shit. So, um, I wouldn't be overly upset with Spagnuolo. I think that he's an interesting guy. He's got a lot of experience. He could have learned from his stint with the Rams. I got him as a C plus. I think he's actually probably one of the better candidates on the list, but I'm still not jumping out of my seat for the guy.
Yeah, you know what? One big thing that I love about him is that he knows exactly what he would be getting into coming here. And some guys on this list might have been here as a player, as a coordinator, whatever. Spags was here a good while, man. Like, he was here in 07, 08. He was here again in 15, 16, 17. I think a portion of it was with Tom Coughlin. He has a pedigree. He's worked under great guys. If he was 45, I think he'd be in my top 3. The fact that he's 65 and I'm not sure that he would even take the job. I gotta dock him a little. He's high on my list, probably higher than most people's list. But as far as grading and what we're seeking, what we would get, I think I'm gonna go B- on this. Clancy, damn it, I just saw that you put a B- too. I did not steal that, but Clancy seems to be in tune with one or each of us. I don't know, but B- is my grade. I'm sorry, did I miss yours? What
Me?
was your grade? Yeah, Murph.
Oh, I had him at C plus. I'm not
C
far from you.
plus.
C
Okay.
plus.
Yeah. Ricky, New York, what do you think about Spagnuolo? I don't know if you're here. Scott Foster. I want to hear some grades because Spags.
I want to point out that like as a defensive background coach, for you to get into the B or A range, like you got to be an excellent candidate. Like you got to be a pretty good candidate for me to be okay with that, because I'm just so sick of defensive minded coaches, man. We've done it forever and it's never fucking worked. So I don't know.
I respect that, and I remember the last few weeks, man. It's like we see every time we meet, so much has happened, and it's the off season, and we're still. I think both of our opinions are molding as time goes, but like I know you were a big, I think Brady or Monken guy at one point, but the overwhelming opinion was offense. And let me just stop and take a beat for a second. Like, are you bummed at the lack of offensive options that we have?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, I mean, I stated it earlier. I'm not crazy about even though we've casted a wide net and everything like that, I just don't think there's a lot out there. But I think even year to year, there's not a lot out there. The offensive coaches get snatched up quick, man, because that's the way the league's trending. So I can't say that like I'm bummed about what the Jets are doing necessarily. It's just more or less of like what the options are, you know.
I do. And like my rationale was, let's get a defensive guy and they'll just get a creative OC. But the more I hear, like people have talking me into, and it might have been Feria. I'll give him a shout out because like he made the point to me that if you get a creative OC and they do the job that you want them to do, a great job, you're losing that guy. You're losing him probably before you even try to ring chase. So it would be better to get the guy at head coach right now. Hey, maybe there's a guy on this list that fits that bill. There's some foreshadowing for you. But it is a bummer that more of these guys aren't in the offensive vein, so to speak. Rick Branson, nice to have you, brother. C plus from him. We got Scott giving a B. JT had to bounce, but he shot over a B minus. Clancy with a B minus. You guys heard our grades. Ricky New York giving a D minus for Spagnola.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
Rick.
Uh,
That might be the
Murdog.
first one that's like way out of out of the public norm right there.
Murdog C minus. If we're factoring New York experience, I'd rather have Pete Carroll, who was the New York Jets head coach before, then had tons of success in Seattle, Super Bowl winner. Yes, he's not on this list. Probably should have included him, but I don't know, man. Maybe I'm an ageist, but that 65 of Spagnuolo alone scares me, man, because I want the next Tomlin, but like with a higher upside, obviously. But like I want a high floor from a young guy somehow. That's the dream, right? Hazel in the house.
And the thing about Carroll too is like we haven't even heard anything about him potentially. Like the Jets haven't even thought about him, I guess, as far as I know. So
facts. Yeah, same. I don't think we've heard anything about Gruden either, have we?
no.
Yeah.
I think a lot of teams are staying away from him due to the issues that he had with the NFL.
Yeah. Kellen Moore, that's a good. I think I've been hearing him linked to either the Saints or the Cowboys quite a bit, right?
The Cowboys is one of them that's looking for him. He's kind of one of those out of left field guys. Like nobody within the Jets, area is talking about him, but that's
Facts.
an option. The old lefty from Boise State.
I'm going to move along. I do want to get a couple last grades in. Jerry with a C minus and Harlan with a C. All right, next up on our list. Damn, another Chief, man. Got to hit both sides of that coin. Yeah, that would be awesome. Me or you? I got you.
I can read it.
All right, give me 1 sec. I'll be right back.
Yep. So Matt Nagy, he's the OC for the Chiefs currently. He was the fourth known candidate to interview at the time. We're the only team to show interest. That says something right there. He's been with the Chiefs for a couple years. He was the head coach for the Bears for 3 years. He's a Jersey native, which I didn't know that. 46 years old. That's probably around the sweet spot. He was 34 and 31 with the Bears. Yeah, they had that one really good year. They went 12-4 with Mitch Trubisky, which is a lot right there. He won the Coach of the Year in 2018. I didn't know that either. He's in the Reed tree, Andy Reid. He's got big market experience. Negatives. The Bears regressed after that 12-4 season. They actually went to shit, really. Never recovered from the double doink. I think we all remember that. Offense never ranked higher than 21st in Chicago, and he failed to get any stability at quarterback. That sounds very familiar. So, yeah, as far as Matt Nagy is concerned, what the hell did I have him at? Let me make sure. Okay, yeah. That's what I was thinking. I know, guys, I've been sitting here, I've been preaching offensive guy for a while. I'd love an offensive guy. But I'm always turned away from the guys that are under offensive coaches like Andy Reid. Guys, Andy Reid is calling plays over there, guys. And if you want to think about it, like the couple years that Matt Nagy's been there have been two of Mahomes' worst years. Something to be said about that. I don't know. He tried the head coaching thing. He had that one spark of a year. It ran out real quick. I'm not real crazy about the guy, but like if they hire him, then I can be like, well, maybe I can convince myself. I got him at a solid C.
You know what? You said it too, man. Like, how many people get credit for a vast, like a wildly successful team You know, I wonder the same thing about Detroit. Like, you get all these guys that are getting promotions. Did they all deserve it? Like, I don't know. But one thing's for sure, like, if you're under Reed, I gotta look at you twice because, like you said, Reed's calling plays. Matt Nagy's not high on my list. I'm gonna say in the D range. You know, I'll just go solid D. I don't want him. Don't want him.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, well, he's got coaching experience. He's
True.
been to the playoffs before. He was a field goal away from going to the Super Bowl that year with a quarterback that I don't think anybody respects, and Mitch Trubisky. Uh, he's got some things on his resume, but I I think that one year was kind of one of those years where you're just there was a spark and then it fizzled out and then he could never do anything after that. And since then he's just riding Andy Reid's coattails and whatever.
Yeah. I yeah. Maybe D is harsh. The chat seems to think it is just from a vein of like their grades are way higher. 12-4 with Mitch Trubisky is insane. Coach of the year. That is on paper. I just don't know about him being here. And
If you remember that year, the Bears defense was so damn good that year.
Good point.
Yeah, that was a big reason why. And then he's not a defensive guy. He didn't maintain it. So that's what happens.
Nagy is Bieniemy. You know what? Facts. So
Without all the bullshit, because B Enemy apparently is a complete asshole from everything I've read about his interviews and things like that. He's without that, yeah, he's basically B Enemy.
Scott Foster in the house. A+ on the haircut. I think he's talking to you, Murph.
I thought he was talking about B Enemy and the lack thereof.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean that reminds me of Robert Sala's head actually.
Nagy, yeah.
This kind of needs trimmed up a little bit, but yeah, it's
All right.
if it is
Well,
towards me, Scott, it's all love, buddy.
are you ready? Because we're about to get into some names, man. I'm assuming because we've knocked off some turds. As a constipated dog would tell you, we've knocked off some turds, man. Anyways, who we got?
There's the
Oh
PA.
man. You know what? I don't even know. Is this guy is he official or is he expected?
I'm gonna be honest with you, just by picture, I don't even know who that is.
So that is Greasy.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
that makes sense.
I think I had him in the wrong order. I wasn't expecting him next. Chat, maybe you could help me out. I think if he's on
Brian.
here, yeah, he might have been scheduled but not yet taken place. I'm not sure.
He's requested. I don't think he's done it
Requested.
yet, though. Yeah.
We could table him then and just keep going.
Well, no, I mean we can talk about him real quick, but I don't have a whole lot. I'm gonna be honest with you. Does anybody know a ton about this guy?
Yeah,
I know he's the 49ers quarterback coach. I'm pretty sure he was a former quarterback himself.
that's
So,
all I know really
so
is
yeah, so he's under the Shanahan tree. He's worked with Brock Purdy and made him into something. That must be a lot if you think about it, because our guy Scott thinks that Purdy is budget Kirk Cousins. So I don't know. I think it's too early for this guy. I had him. Where the hell is it? Oh yeah, I had him. Jesus, I went a little high on that. I actually had him in a C plus. I think that's probably just because he's an offensive guy and he's under the Shanahan tree. That's probably why. It's one of them things. Like if we hire a guy like that, think about it. Like the Bengals had success with Zach Taylor. He was a quarterbacks coach before becoming a head coach. he made the leap and bypassed offensive coordinator, went straight to head coach. It could happen with us, with him. So if they hired him, I wouldn't be that upset about it, but I'm not going to be jumping out of my seat.
Shout out Connor in the chat. He was right on this. I had him because I started this slideshow last night. Today it was reported that he turned us down. So
really,
I think I'm going to go F as in him and as in his grade.
Yeah. All right,
yeah.
we'll work on that. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
We must be friends with Sala.
What I will say is, oh shit, give me a second. I'll bring that slide back up. But what I will say is that I do remember him as a player. I think you brought to my attention that his brother also played, but the Greasy I remember played in Denver around the turn of the century-ish. An okay quarterback, nothing I would write home about from my recollection. But again, I'm not Googling it and researching it. I'm just going off the top of my dome. So anyways, let's get back to it. Greasy, not a candidate, fine by us. How about this guy, Murph? Senor Brian Flores. I'm going to read a little bit about him, and then I'll get your take on him as well. He was candidate number 13. 2 seasons as the Vikings defensive coordinator, Dolphins head coach, couple seasons before that. Right around 500. Patriots assistant for 11 years. In 2022, he filed a lawsuit against the NFL and 3 teams, racial discrimination. Aside from that, he was born and raised in Brooklyn, also interviewing with the Bears and the Jags. So definitely a top candidate for several teams. He is a blitz-heavy defensive coach who improved the Vikings scoring defense from 28th to 13th to 5th in 2 years. A no-nonsense approach. He brings discipline. 2 winning seasons in Miami, most notably had some riffs with Tua Tagovailoa. You can read all about that anywhere you want. We're not going to get into that, but definitely some asterisks next to his name. Questions about his people skills. Reportedly clashed, yeah, I just said that, and others, which Ryan Fitzpatrick's, he outlined those as well. He clashed with some people, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they always remember how you went out, right? He went out not very family friendly, it sounds like. Very isolated, dictator, all the verbs you want to, all the adjectives you want to throw in there. But he went through 4 OCs, 2 DCs during his Miami tenure. What does that mean? Does that mean he can't work with people for long? I don't know. Anyways, he says he has learned from his mistakes. Oh, well, if he says that, that's all that matters, right? He probably has grown as a coach. Since his Miami stop, I think he went and he was under Tomlin for a little while. Then he was under Kevin O'Connell for a little while. He had to learn something. So, Brian Flores, Daniel Murphy, thoughts on the New York Jets making him coach of the 2025 team?
Well, I will say that if there's a coach that you should go under, if you're having trouble connecting with your players and your fellow coaches and stuff like that, if there is a coach that you should go under, it's probably Mike Tomlin. I think that he's a guy that's proven how to be stern with your team, but yet still connect with your team. Had trouble with offensive coordinators, had trouble with offense in general a little bit. Then he goes under Kevin O'Connell, learns. So those are 2 good signs. I understand there is asterisks with how he didn't get along with Tua and things like that. Like you still have that in the back of your head. That's a given. But there's also another thing that's a given. This dude's an excellent defensive coordinator. This candidate is upgraded, better version of Rex Ryan, in my opinion. Like maybe Rex was a little more bravado, maybe he was a little more connecting with his players, but like the type of scheme, like the blitz heavy approach, like ultra aggressive, but also no nonsense mentality with your team, things like that. That to me is like, if you're going to hire Rex, screw that, hire this guy. Like that's how I look at it. I think Flores is a good coach. I do. Maybe a head coach is him punching above his weight class. I'm not sure. I think that he's a guy that does deserve a second chance at coaching, like being a head coach in the NFL. I think he dealt with a lot down there in Miami. I don't think he ever did want Tua. I think he was forced Tua, like Tua was forced on him. He was also dealing. That was back with the controversy with Tom Brady and stuff too. Miami was like going out on a boat with him out past a certain point in the seas to where they can't get in trouble for talking about owning the team and doing. Oh, there's all kinds of stuff going on. People tend to forget that they lost first round picks over that stuff, and he didn't want any part of being a part of those conversations. I remember that, but I actually like Flores as a candidate. Let's see what I had him at. I can't remember exactly. Where the hell is it? Oh, okay, yeah. All right, yeah, that's where I had him at. All right, so yeah, he's one of my higher up candidates. I got him at a B-. I would be happy if we hired him.
If you were with us last week too, you'll hear, or if you didn't, go back and watch it. Our guy Rich Sports Talk was on, and this was his guy. He sold it very well. Actually, I was down on Flores until we really, really chopped it up about him, and really considered all that he could bring. I do think he's a top candidate. He's in my top 5. Like you said, Rex Ryan, but not 62 years old. And I think that helps.
Been in the league.
Yeah, he's plugged in still, man. That's what I said about Rex. He's not plugged in. He's not going to have the posse behind him that he had before. Brian Flores may. He has some people that don't like him. But I think he has a lot of guys that do as well. So I do think it'd be a good hire. I think he is one of our, I think if another guy or two gets signed faster than we're ready, Flores is going to be front and center. But regardless of who else is out there, just grading Flores alone, there's a lot to unpack there. I think he would come in with a little bit of baggage, or else he'd be an A for me. I'm going to put just a solid B on it.
Understandable.
Yeah. Just baggage, even if he channels it, that doesn't mean it'll ever go away in the New York media and market and fan base. So, I hope that he channels it. I can't promise he did. What I will say is that Jerry thinks he's a B. Harlan, he's lower. He thinks he's a C-. But then you got Clancy in the B+ range. Let's see who else we got here. There's some comments I don't have time to read, but
he's a defensive guy, so he's not going to hit an A for me for sure.
Okay,
if he was an offensive guy, he might have been a solid B or a B+. But I got him at B-. I would be happy. Like if you're in the B's, I would be happy with hiring him. But like you said, there is some baggage. There is some things that you have in the back of your head. You're like, is this going to work out or not? But then there's also positives. He brings that no-nonsense approach to your team. Those penalties are going to get cleaned up, like things like that. So I think that And then players that have regressed on defense this year, those guys are going to stand out again. The Sauce Gardners of the world and stuff.
Yeah.
Our defense would be freaking legit again if we had Brian Flores as our coach.
And I hate to say it, but there's just a couple candidates out there that I'm letting affect my vision for Flores being our head coach. And it's hard to compartmentalize that and separate it, because I do think that he would be the opposite of what we just had. Like you said, he would rectify quite a bit of our big problems. Guess what? He knows the division. He knows some of our, he knows Tua, he knows some other guys. But if you fail as a head coach, he has pretty much done exactly what the prescription would be in order to get better. Tomlin, Kevin O'Connell. He's done that. I think someone's going to get a motivated guy in his second stint. I don't know if it's us. We'll see. But B plus from Clancy. Ricky, very, very low on him. F minus or an F, whatever that says. But yeah. Hey, he's got, regardless what you want to grade him, I think he's going to get a second interview. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of them guys that you can almost lock in for a second interview. And I don't know, maybe as fans it's bigger to us than it is others, but like him having a little bit of a grudge against the Dolphins, that just makes it a little sweeter, doesn't it?
It does. All right, let's move on then. We're winding down, I can tell you that. Already got someone in the green room, so we're going to be getting to callers here. If you want to call in, guys, the link is pinned. I'd like to hear maybe a grade you didn't agree with. Maybe you just want to pitch your guy. I want to hear it. But in the meantime, we got a heavy hitter. Aaron Glenn. You want to do the honors or you want me to?
I'll do it.
All right. Let's get after it.
All right. Jets completed their head coach interview with Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, who is slated to interview with 5 teams. Popular candidate this year. He is the Lions defensive coordinator. He was since 2021 till now. He was an assistant coach for the Saints, I think, under Peyton back in those days, and also with the Browns. He played from 1994 to 2008, including 94 through 2001 with the Jets. A good chunk of his career. He's 52 years old, so he's still kind of in that, old enough to know what the hell he's talking about, but young enough to not, die in his third year with us. So positives, they're saying that he has strong leadership traits. I think we've seen that and just the interviews and how he conducts himself on the sideline. Knows what it takes to rebuild a culture. He's seeing how the Lions have done it, so he knows how it works. He's worked magic with a depleted Detroit defense. See Aiden Hutchinson. Scouting and in his background, he's a Bill Parcells disciple, considered one of the Jets' top candidates. Negatives: no head coaching experience, no background on offensive side of the ball. Who would his OC be? Rich outlined it pretty well there. Aaron Glenn is one of those candidates that everybody's talking about, and for good reason. He's got interviews with 5 teams. That Detroit defense is cooking, even without Aiden Hutchinson. They didn't have Anzalone for a while. Like he said, depleted defense, and he's still been cooking. You could say the offense is performing so well it's making it easy on the defense. You could say the opposite, whatever. The guy is intriguing. I'm not crazy about defensive coaches, but then you go and see the clip. Everybody's probably seen the clip. Him at the podium saying, guys, he's like, I'm a coach. I'm not a defensive. I'm a coach. Said he said I plan on being right there, right there with the offensive coaches, the offensive players, just as much as I plan on being there with the defensive guys. He's like, it doesn't matter. He said, I'm a coach. He's like, I've been around offenses. I know how to produce. And he's been around Ben Johnson, so that's a plus right there. He at least knows how to be crafty like him. Hopefully, um, I think he's an intriguing candidate. He's one of my highest candidates on my list. I got him at a solid B. I would be happy. You know, the former Jet thing is just, too that's so I would be happy with Glenn. The only thing is just I wanted an offensive guy. Like that's the only thing I can say about it that like is kind of a negative. I wanted an offensive guy, and then also he hasn't been a head coach before, but I'm not super concerned about that. I would like
Yeah.
experience, but it is what it is. Got him at a solid B, man.
You know what? And we've got some A's funneling through the chat. I think that a lot of the fan base, they're going to be crushed if we don't land him. But we don't know what the hell is happening behind closed doors. We don't know how good his interview was, but he's had a lot of them. And I think he had like two last Friday, two last Saturday. Like he did five, bam, 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 bam. Guess what? He turned down the Patriots. Another chef's kiss there. I will say, man, playing NFL 2K back turn of the century, I would make the punt and kick returners the fastest guy on the team. Aaron Glenn was that guy. Awesome. As far as coaching, though, he's proven to be adaptable. Just a strong ass candidate, man. And I would say he's Brian Flores, but Flores has some baggage, and I think Glenn has some icing, so to speak. He is a former Jet. He's scouted here as well. He knows Woody, like he knows the market. So similar candidates. I got to take a little bit off of Flores, and I got to add a little to Glenn. I really don't see a Glenn team getting 5-12 record. I don't. Maybe I'm crazy, but I have a higher floor on him than most first-time head coaches. I just don't know what his ceiling is yet, especially without a known quarterback. I'm gonna go A minus on this one, and I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I wanted him before the whole, like, I did flirt with the Vrabel idea, so I went away from Glenn, but Glenn was my first choice. Then I flirted with Vrabel, and then when Vrabel crushed all of us, I snapped out of it and I went back to Glenn. The only thing I would say is he has to hire an excellent offensive mind. My choice for that, I would say, but he may or may not be on this list, so I'll table that. We could talk about that with our guests that are filing into the green room, which is awesome. Can't wait to get to you guys. So yeah, A minus. Can you say one more time what your grade was on this one, Murph?
Solid B.
Solid B. Was that a Robert Saleh D? What?
Yes, he would be a D. Robert Sala would be a D.
I got you. Hey, we got another A for a B plus. I don't know what Scott's talking about down there, but B's and higher.
GMs. We're not talking GMs, Scott.
Yeah, what are you doing,
We're
man?
not including GMs into this.
All right, let's keep going. Like I said, we got some people waiting. I know you got to step away, so let's just keep going here. There's a couple quick slot. Oh, I think I spoke too soon because the guy I wanted to pair with Glenn is right here. what say you about Josh McCown in general and the idea that we could put him all the way up at head coach?
First of all, I think you're on Twitter too damn much to be doing that pairing. And I think people are a little crazy to want to hire Josh McCown as our head coach. I like Josh McCown. I like him a lot. I appreciated him and the efforts that he put in. He was never the most talented guy, but I appreciated the efforts he put in with the Jets when he was with us. I appreciated him taking on that mentor role for Sam Darnold. I think he was crucial for Sam Darnold, honestly. I have no idea if he can even run an offense, much less a team right now. The experience necessarily just isn't there. Yeah, you could maybe bring a guy from quarterback coach to head coach. Like I said, they did that with the Bengals did that, I don't know, man. I'm just putting them in a C. Like I wouldn't be blown away like, wow, what the fuck are they doing? No, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if that makes sense, So Josh McCown's just a C for me, man. Try him at a C first.
Yeah, OC first. I would say like what I will say though, like 12 months from now, he might be one of the leading candidates. But it's not that like do you want to hire him a year early? Like it's tough, man, because like you could be hitting the jackpot. Or you might not.
Well, you could be ruining him too if you get him before he's ready. So that's the thing.
I would love to have him as an OC, even if he wants to use us as a launching point. The thing is, if he is going somewhere as an OC with the thought of parlaying it into being a head coach, why would you come here? Who hasn't been a good offensive team in, God, half a century? So I don't know how realistic
that's a
it
hell
is.
of a resume builder, though.
True.
If you come to the Jets and we end up with like a top 7 offense your first year being with the Jets, people are going to be like, holy shit, this guy can coach. Like,
Yeah.
So there's something to be said for that, but I just don't think he's ready yet. C.
C for you. Wild Wave B-. Clancy B-. Ricky C+. It goes back to that word we talked about, experimental. We don't have the luxury of hiring him now. I wish we would, because it is a guy that I think could really pay off. Ideally, he's our OC next year. But if you hire him to be head coach right now, I mean, maybe he just forms a super squad underneath him, and it's like having Glenn and McCown, but it's McCown and someone great at DC. Hiring him just blindly though to be head coach, I think, is putting the cart in front of the horse. So I'm going to say B-, and I might regret it because we watch this a year from now. It might be the higher of the cycle, but yeah, B-. See what we got next. Oh, do you know this guy, Murph?
No, I don't know. I don't know that guy.
Faces.
I might know his name. I don't know his face.
So we're down to the last 2 slides or so. This guy, let me give you a hint. There's a story of a man named Brady.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right.
Well, this is the offensive guy.
He always wears a hat. That's weird, him not wearing a hat.
And I'm sorry if I slipped this one in here. I don't know if this is one you wanted to throw in for extra credit at the end. You know what? Let me just do this. I'm going to show you the last few slides, and then we'll just talk one last time, and we'll see where we're at, and then we'll just move on. So we got Brady here. This guy is DeWitt, who I believe is the Commanders DC, right?
It's just
OC?
Witt. Joe Witt Jr.
Thank you.
Joe Witt Jr.
He was slipped in at the last second, or else I would be better prepared with him. He obviously was in Green Bay, then he was with Washington as well. And then this guy, which, yeah. I'm
The
gonna
guy we
close
should have
down.
hired when we hired Adam Gase. Yeah, got you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get rid of this, and let me just maybe get a final take. I've stolen a bunch of your time. Where are you at with the final few candidates? Maybe you don't even want to talk about them. Maybe you got your own guy you want to throw. Where are you at with some dark horses or someone I skipped? What say you?
Okay, so we'll start with the weak link there. Joe Witt Jr. I'm not interested. I don't even know where I have him on here. That's funny. I know I got him somewhere. I might have deleted him because he's not even worth talking about. Joe Witt Jr. I'm not interested in. D plus, like, come on, guys. Like, we can do better. We can do better than that. We don't need to dive into those waters. Um, Joe Brady is a guy that I've actually been very intrigued with. I He might be like my top. He might be top three for me. Um, I like some of the things I saw him do with the Panthers. I know it wasn't exactly pretty, but he made a hell of a jump going from like what college OC to head coach in the NFL. You know what I mean? That was a hell of a jump to make. So it's a lot for a guy to take on. But he got his experience. He learned. He went to a good organization with the Bills, as much as it pains me to say, and he's been performing there. That offense, even though they've lost pieces like Diggs and stuff like that, they're still cooking, man. And I think the guy knows what he's doing. It's, at least with coaching offense, he knows what he's doing. I think he's worth giving a shot too. Um, I got him at a B minus. So I would be. I'm not gonna lie. I'd be kind of excited if we brought in Brady. I would be kind of like I said. He's probably a top three candidate for me.
Knows the
Um,
division too.
a guy that I might even be just as excited for, maybe even slightly more, is Mike McCarthy. That is a guy that I wanted back when we hired Adam Gase. He said he wanted to come to the Jets. He said that was the only team that he'd be willing to come back and coach again the next year for. And we said, nah, no, we're good. We're going to go with Coke Eyes down here in Florida. Um, McCarthy he's got the resume, man. Won the Super Bowl. Yeah, exactly. He won the Super Bowl. He's a guy that has some background in offense. He's a guy that, his record speaks for itself. Like, yes, this last year was rough. Like, I get it, you know, but have your faith in Dak or don't have your faith in Dak. But Dak also got injured. CeeDee Lamb was dealing with injuries. There's some things that was going on. I think the overall talent on the team had decreased too. So I don't know. I think McCarthy is a guy that if you want a guy that knows how to coach football, you bring in Mike McCarthy. So I had him at a B. Actually, he's only one of two Bs for me. Yeah, he's only one of two flat Bs. It was Aaron Glenn, Mike McCarthy, and I got a couple B minuses in Flores and Brady. There's a couple guys that we didn't bring on the list, but I know that they hadn't even scheduled an interview. But maybe we'll talk about those guys here in a little bit. But
Yeah, when you
yeah,
come back, we'll hit some any that you want to. You can empty your bag, bro, as B Rabbit would say. But yeah, cause like Monken, dude, I thought he would be a guy offensive. You wanted offense, like we didn't even get an interview with Monken. Um, Brady, though, knowing the AFC East, I think would be clutch. He helped Josh get better this year. How about he come over here and help Josh get back to what he was doing before? I'd be down with that. Brady, I think, would be a B plus, maybe an A minus, especially if who you're paired with matters so much. Um, Maybe you take a little bit off the upside though, and you add it to like experience and recruitment and just knowing football, and you get Mike McCarthy, an old guy, maybe a guy that I would love to have if he took a year off. I feel like Dallas.
He did that before, though.
I know, but Dallas, like, I feel like he was a dead man walking for like a year and a half down there. Like, I don't know. McCarthy, probably, I would say McCarthy B minus, Brady B plus, because we're talking long term. We're not trying to ring chase. DeWitt's not even on my, or Witt, sorry. Witt is not even on my radar. If I was him, I would name my kid Dim. But no, I'm just kidding. But it just took a while. I'm sorry. If you want to step away, you're fine. Brady, though.
I'll put the kid out of bed and I'll be back because I got more things to say.
Let's do it, dude. Great topic, right? Good job, Murph. You suggested this, and there's so much meat on the bone that we left. And we got people in the green room. I'm going to bring them out. I'm going to bring out the first guy solo first because he was waiting longer. So I'm going to bring him out, give him a few minutes himself. And then I'm going to see who else is still there, and we'll just do a round. I want to hear what you guys have to say about coaching because I feel like a lot of people I'm hearing these days have tunnel vision on one guy. There's not a lot of diverse takes. Maybe you guys just want to spout, the same candidate, but maybe a different way, and that's fine too. So let's hear what you got to say. First guy is no stranger to the streaming process, has a channel that also launched in 2024 like mine. I don't know if I've been on solo with him, but regardless, let's bring him out, see what he has to say. None other than the Jet Stream himself, Murdog. What's up, dude?
What's up, brother?
Not much, man. How are you tonight?
I'm good, man. Just enjoying the show. When I hopped in back, I'm typing thoughts in the whole time. And then when I came back, I didn't see an option to keep typing. So I was like, all right, I'll just wait till I get on.
I hate that. Like when I'm back there or whatever, I have to use my phone and it stinks because on StreamYard you can do the both, But yeah, well, you heard all our grades. Were you like way different on anyone, or maybe you just want to preach like, who do you think we should hire, man? Where are you at with all this?
Well, do you want to start with who's the absolute no? Since I've been in the backstage, okay.
Yes.
I called in. I don't know, maybe before you got to Flores, and he like Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan is an absolute no for me. Not that and I've said this on when I co-host with Mike, Midnight Mike. So we love Rex because of his history with his family and him being the coach and the success he had. We love him as a man, but he's not the coach for us. He's too much of a me guy, wants the spotlight. He's proven that time and time again, and even as an analyst on TV. So I don't like him, especially for this team. We have a young core. Rex Ryan is more suited and had his only success, when he had a veteran-laden team on the offense and defensive lines. Once those guys started to filter out, the Jets started losing. He went to Buffalo, was 500 or worse there too. So you just got to call a spade with that. He's a rah-rah guy. And some guys, like some of the guys on your list, like Spagnuolo, I believe, are better off coordinators than head coaches. It's a different animal. Coordinators are more X's and O guys. Head coaches are more cultivating people in a family environment. But for Flores, because you're all over the place. You're not just focused on one aspect of the team. But what I was writing down here is absolutely no to Flores. He's a good coach. I'm not going to take that away from him. He's been consistently employed by the NFL on teams, whether it was the Patriots for like 13, 14 seasons, the Dolphins, the Steelers, and now the Vikings. 21 plus years, 21 seasons straight. I think he's been employed by an NFL team. It's what he did, and Murph brought it up. I had it down here, and Murph then spoke on it on camera that what he did to the Dolphins, filing lawsuits against the NFL, selling his owner Ross down the river about the Brady thing with the tampering and whatnot, and then filing 3 suits against, what was it, the Giants, Broncos, and Dolphins, I believe, for discrimination. That's someone you don't want in your organization. You can't have that.
having him under a magnifying glass in a pressure cooker that is New York, like it's a dude. Like he comes in with baggage, man. Do we need baggage?
No, we
Like,
don't,
yeah.
because he, like you, I think you mentioned, he was beefing with Tua. I think he fired multiple coordinators in his 3 or 4 seasons with the Dolphins. The reports are, you as a coach on the staff, you couldn't go in and talk to him and be a team. It was my way or the highway. Very combative with players and staff, and then sells the owner down the river. I think because they were trying to get Sean Payton as well, even though he was on the contract with the Saints at the time. So I think their plan was to have Brady be a part owner, then come back to play, and with Peyton as the coach. And this guy's screaming discrimination. To me, that's mind-boggling when you've been employed for that many seasons straight in the NFL, in good spots too. He's just somebody that this Jets organization cannot have. We have a young core, and now you bring in the agent of chaos as your head man. That's no bueno, man. He's the worst candidate for the team, not because of his coaching acumen. I like his coaching acumen. I do not like his presence in the organization. We're going to have a hard time at this moment in time. I'm terrified that our young core that we just drafted a few years ago, we're this close from losing them as soon as they're eligible. He will expedite that process, and they're gone. We need somebody to keep that in there, and that's why the best person is Aaron Glenn by a long shot.
Talk about a beloved guy. They are, when it comes to personalities, they might be so opposite, because there's not a guy under Glenn that can say anything bad about him, and then you got to really hunt hard for the people defending Flores. You might be right though. As critical of a moment this is in so many key guys on our roster's development, is Flores the right thing to pepper into that gumbo? Or is Glenn?
You need, with the frustration, they know that, when I see Garrett Wilson having nuclear meltdowns on the sidelines multiple times, there's a part of the culture that's missing. And I look at Aaron Glenn as a Mike Tomlin figure, a beloved type coach, a good coach, but also loved. He's like the uncle, just like Tomlin has been. That's why Tomlin was indispensable in Pittsburgh, even if they lost. It's just Mike Tomlin's not going anywhere. He brings more than X's and O's. Aaron Glenn is the same dude, and that's who we need. So we're basically getting our own Mike Tomlin. Murph, I can't believe you're wearing clothes. What's going on, bro?
By the way, I didn't know you were coming on, because if not, I might have shown.
We're gonna have to strip.
But hey, so I do want to counter something there. There's a lot of fire Mike Tomlin chatter in my world, because as you know, I'm from that area, and all these Steelers casual ass Steelers fans are pissed. I have many screenshots, and Dane, I sent a lot of them to Dane. It was so funny when they lost. Get rid of this guy. Oh man, it was ridiculous. But I do get your sentiment and your point there. I just wanted to say that Tomlin has actually been under some heat around here, but I don't think they'll ever fire him.
Well, the fans are fickle, and if you don't win, it's what have you done for me lately? Even though he's done a lot, he's had a tremendous amount of success for them between Super Bowl wins, Super Bowl appearances, constant playoff appearances, division titles. They're always in the top 2 of their division. The Rooneys love him. The Rooneys value him, as they saw what he's done. That's why they haven't got rid of him, because he's family, and they've embraced him as family. Aaron Glenn is our Tomlin, and he's a former first-round pick. In '94 out of Texas A&M. He was a very good Jet. And then when I go back to Flores, how in all sports, when Joe Douglas is fired, or most of these managers or coaches get fired, they shut up. They don't bash the team. They don't talk shit, because there's only 32 teams, just like in baseball with 30. You start trashing your former employer, nobody's going to hire you. And then this guy goes out with the discrimination thing. And I'll be surprised if he ever gets a head coaching job again. But even if he does, great. People deserve second chances. He's a little more toxic for my liking. I don't want him on our team with our roster. We can't afford that. We need to bring these kids in with give these kids hugs, arm around the shoulders, to keep them here. And I think they would play more. I think they'd play better under Aaron Glenn anyway.
Haven't they had enough hugs? They're fucking out here doing whatever the hell they want, getting all kinds of penalties and shit.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I'm just really talking about cultivating a culture. Rex Ryan wouldn't do it. Rex Ryan is all about put the camera on me. I think Aaron Glenn is like, he's Mike Tomlin to me. That's what I see.
I do agree with that sentiment. I think that's an excellent comparison there, because I can see Aaron Glenn taking a very Mike Tomlin type of approach to coaching, and that would be very appealing to me. I know, speaking of Tomlin, we didn't bring him up on the list because, you know, he's still his Steelers head coach. I know I discussed it a little bit with Dane and Scott one day whenever they lost, and people were talking about fire Tomlin and stuff like that. And Dane was like, yeah, but how high is that ceiling and stuff, you know? And I was like, oh no, a winning season. You know what I mean? Like the floor is just like, as Jet fans, we'd be so thrilled to have a 10-win season. My God, even if we did get booted in the first round. But I don't know. I get it. Glenn is an excellent candidate. That's why he was the only one, aside from if you consider Mike McCarthy, he was the only one that had a B in my book. But I want to know why haven't they interviewed guys like Todd Monken, Cliff Kingsbury? What happened with Ben Johnson? Did he just refuse us outright?
Yeah, Ben Johnson denied the request. I'm okay with Monken too as a candidate.
He would have been a B for me.
I mentioned Cliff Kingsbury, right? Or Kingsbury. I always get this guy's name wrong.
Kingsbury, yeah.
It's a tongue twister for sure. But I mentioned Cliff. I'll just call him Cliff in the beginning after Saleh because I wanted an offensive guy. We constantly go defense. I wanted an offensive guy. Aaron Glenn is the only defensive guy I want, and that I'll be okay with because of, like I said, beyond X's knows what he brings, and being a former Jet. But yeah, I wanted to go offense all day. I'm tired of the defensive guys, but you know, I can't be a hypocrite with it and saying like I think we also need the culture to be something that Aaron Glenn can provide, probably more so than a Kingsbury or Monken. I'm not taking anything away from them, but there's more to it. Did you have something, Murph?
Well, I was going to say there's something to be said about him experiencing like a culture being shifted with the Lions. Like there's something to be said for that. So that him seeing that and then coming to us and trying to emulate that is a good plan. I mean, obviously you can't perfectly emulate another culture change, but like seeing what it takes to change a culture is a big deal. So I'm with you on that.
There's a couple of things that we're listening to the show. You guys, we've interviewed 6,000 people for these spots. There's a couple of things. I think Aaron Glenn, they can't talk to him yet because they're still in the playoffs. Part of their interview process is probably a lot of these guys probably know this happens every year that they're not going to get the job, but they're getting the experience of the interview. So, and the Jets are also learning about the team because when they interview the head coaches, they pick their brain, but they're also like just doing favors to these guys. Like, hey man, I'm very good friends with your GM or your assistant GM. In a couple of years, you're going to really get an opportunity. Let's give you the opportunity to practice here with us, how the process goes. That's just how they work to help each other out. Because you see a lot of turnover on these teams. You got guys bouncing from organization throughout their careers. They don't just stick with one. This is a good learning experience for them to get just the experience. The second point of that was we're just doing interviews now for that process, and we can't interview Aaron Glenn. And don't discount Ray Agnew, the assistant GM with the Lions, and both of them coming here. Agnew's son is a scout for the Jets.
He won't interview, though. He won't interview. They
can't. Did Ray Agnew decline?
Well, by the way, we did interview Aaron Glenn, by the way.
Yeah.
No,
it was a virtual interview. Yeah, we've had to do quite a few virtual interviews with the playoff team guys.
Okay, virtual.
There was a window of time where you can, I think up until tomorrow or the next day you can, and then it's shut down. And like we interviewed Farmer from Chiefs. So like but the thing is, Agnew, it's not just us, though. He hasn't interviewed for anybody. And, like, he was at the damn top of my list coming into this thing. I wanted him, and we just can't get him on the phone for some reason. So it's either him or it's either his fault or we don't want him, but then nobody else wants him either. Like he's a good candidate. So, but
Maybe he's a guy that's just made it clear from the beginning that he's like, I want to wait until after it's all done, you know.
that window's closing, and by the time it reopens again, we're already going to have a GM. So we're not getting Agnew.
I kind of feel like there's an understanding, like behind closed doors, because you don't want the tampering stuff. There's no way. I just can't see the Jets letting all this go by, people hiring everyone. And I don't think you should be hiring a head coach before the GM anyway. That's like a recipe for disaster. So there's an order for a reason. I kind of feel it's going to be Agnew and Glenn. I just kind of feel that that's how it's going to end up. And it's all quiet on that front for a reason. That's
be fine by me.
Yeah, I think that's how it's going to go down. Like, I'm convinced until I'm proven wrong. That's just the way I feel it's going to go. Maybe that's why we're not like bringing in this guy for the interview. I just think it's a done deal. It's just a matter of
a couple pairings. I didn't really consider Agnew because like there hadn't really been any chatter whether we were going to interview him, whether he was even willing to interview with us or any of that. So I never really considered him. But like I was trying to think of, because Dane asked me, he was like, try to think of like one or two like GM head coach pairings that you might like to see. And so the one, obviously I had to have Glenn in there as one of my head coaches. So if I was going to pair somebody with Glenn, I thought just for at least the lulls, if nothing else, put Mike Greenberg in with Glenn, just so we just go full on Jets, baby. Let's do it. You know, why not? He doesn't have a bad resume, so why not? But and we don't know what any of these fucking GMs are going to do anyway. You know, like literally, you don't know if Ray Agnew is even going to be a good GM. He could be likely, but who knows?
all right. Well,
And then the other one, I was like, you know what? Bring in Joe Brady with one of them young hotshot guys that are like really into the analytics. So bring in the Hallaby dude from the Eagles. He's like one of them dudes that's real in tune with all the analytics and the new football type stuff. And he's like basically one of Howie's like right hand men and stuff like that. So I thought that was another good pairing. You have any thoughts?
Before we get into like actual pairings, I know a guy that's been chomping at the bit. He wants to get out here and he wants to contribute. So without further ado, friend of the channel, you guys know him and you love him. Everybody loves this guy. Bring him out, the Florida native himself, Ricky New York. What is up? Oh, I hope his internet's okay. You still there, Ricky?
Probably has his camera turned off right now.
Ricky's calling from the shadows.
He's busy rolling at the moment. Hold on, guys.
I'll give him a minute, but I know he wants to chop it up with Murdog as well. Pairings, man. Yeah, he dropped off. He'll be back. I'll put him straight on when he's up. I don't know. Like, let me ask you guys this, because Murph, you just asked that question. It's a good question, but I wonder, like, without even giving specific names, if you have to have like a stable guy and like a shot in the dark, high upside guy, do you want like the chance to be taken at coach, or do you want the chance to be taken at GM and have a stable coach? Like, where are you at with just like surface level dynamics? Like, where's the strong candidate and where's like the high upside at?
All right, so like with Joe Douglas, I'm a Joe Douglas truther. I love him. I love what he did in so many spots. Granted, he made mistakes, but he did so much more positive things than we ever experienced as a Jet fan base from the GM spot. Joe Douglas came from successful programs. He came from Philly. He came from the Ravens, where they know how to do shit. Ray Agnew is someone I'm like, because you got teams like the Lions and the Browns that ran parallel to the Jets for decades of being the worst team, you know, at the bottom most of the times, right? Those three franchises kind of went together. They went from like worst to first in like a draft or two, and he was there for that. So he knows what to do. He's got that experience as the assistant GM. So I value that a lot when it comes to that. What Murph said about the coordinators, I'm okay with Joe Brady giving him a shot as the OC or McCown. I'm totally cool with that. You look at, like, when you mentioned what he did with Donald this year, he was also on the he got fired when they were 1-10 with the Panthers when Frank Reich was the coach. He was the quarterback's coach and he got fired because they were 1-10. They held that against him because Bryce Young didn't develop right away. But then he goes to the Vikings, and we all know Sam Darnold well, and they're 14-3 with Sam Darnold as the quarterback's coach. So they blamed him for 1-10, but now he's 14-3 in the same spot. So you kind of got to throw that out the window. What I would hold on to as far as McCown is, we know Sam Darnold, what he did with us, and how he made him better, with the Vikings. So I'll give him a little bit of credit for that. What up, Rick?
What's up, man?
How you doing, brother?
Doing tonight?
Oh, Ricky.
Going, sir.
Hey, you look crystal clear, Ricky. You look good, man. What's up, man? How you doing tonight?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Just sitting back, listening to the conversation. And let me start off by saying, we all have our opinions, but there are a lot of things that go on that we don't see. There's things going on that we don't know. And I'm going to use an example. Looking at you two gentlemen on screen right now, I would have never guessed that Dana was that much taller than Dan until I saw the pictures of you two guys together. Never would have guessed that.
Yeah, Dane's like 6'3", dude. He's freaking ridiculous.
You're right. Okay, keep going. I see where you're going, but go ahead, Ricky.
But at any rate, let me ask all three of you a question. If you had to name like who you think are like the top 5 head coaches in the league right now, like active ones, already with not candidates, but already guys that are with a team, 5 or top 3, coaches in the league.
You guys want to go? I mean, I could just throw them out there. I don't know if I have.
Yeah, just throw some names.
Think a little bit. Go ahead and throw yours out there, Murdo.
I'll throw Sean Payton out there.
I'm going to throw Andy Reid.
He was my second.
I mean, you might throw Dan Campbell, but I don't know. You start to think of the successful teams, right?
I gotta put Shanahan in there. I know that he didn't have a great season, but I mean his success over the last, how many times? I don't know. I think even a bad season, they still won 7 games, right? Like I don't know. I think I would got to put Shanahan in there.
I like McVay. I like the Harbaugh brothers.
There you go. Okay. Well, my point being is that Campbell's done an incredible job in Detroit. There's no two ways about that. I think it's going to depend on how he performs in the postseason, if they can make it all the way in order to maybe bump him up with some of those other guys. But right there, so we got Dan Campbell, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay. Dude, all of those guys were first-time head coaches. So that I think we can kind of put that first-time head coach thing to rest a little bit with Glenn anyway. Do any of you guys know, like after Aaron Glenn quit playing, do you know what his very first job was, like in the coaching realm, like with an organization?
Was he with the Texans first?
It was with another league. It was like the Lone Star League or something like that. Okay. He was their general manager for the team. His very first front office job was as a GM. So he's got a little bit of the GM experience. Then he went to being like an assistant defensive backs coach. Then he went on to be a cornerbacks coach. That was with Cleveland. And then became the secondary coach. And then from there, he went to the Lions. Actually, before that, he was a scout with the Jets. After his stint as a GM, he was first a scout. And as the assistant DB coach for Cleveland. But so he had a little bit of experience as a GM. He was in our scouting department. Therefore, he is a good evaluator of talent and has the experience in that realm. Coach, then defensive coordinator. And Glenn and I want to say this too about some of the guys that we have or haven't interviewed. Everybody likes to say Agnew and Glenn, or Dorsey and Glenn, because they're just kind of dot connecting. And I was very guilty of the same thing. And the fact that Agnew's son works for us now means that Agnew probably has maybe some information about the Jets that other candidates don't. And I can agree with that. However, talking to a lot of different people and listening to a lot of different people from around the league, Spielman was the one that was most responsible for that culture change in Detroit. Therefore, I really feel like it's going to be Spielman and Glenn that we would end up with, as opposed to Agnew and Glenn.
I'm cool
And
with that.
I know we all like to do pairings, but pairing is what like some snooty rich person does when they're trying to pick out the wine to go with their dinner. Okay, that's not up to us. We're going to pick a GM, and the GM's going to bring in the coach that he likes, just like the coach is going to bring in the quarterback that he likes. I know we all like to play matchmaker, but that's not really how it's going to work. But
Well, let me ask you this: what do you think about Agnew? About the fact that he's not even taking interviews? Do you think that he is still on the table like Murdoch? Is he Murdoch's not ruling it out? Are you? Where are you at with that?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily ruling it out, but I think he's happy where he's at for the time being, anyway. I don't know. It's interesting that he hasn't at least taken an interview. However, like some guys, there are some people that just flat out turned us down. Now, Ben Johnson, what I initially heard was that Ben Johnson said someplace that had the quarterback in place already, where that wasn't a question mark. But then, when he decides to interview with the Raiders, that kind of flew in the face of that report. Yeah. I also heard that because this really is Aaron Glenn's dream job, and the two of them are so close, that Johnson didn't want to prevent his friend from getting the dream job. How much truth is there to that? I don't know. Hopefully that is the case and it's not some other reason. But the more I really researched him and dug into him, like he's like a real smart dude, but a real quirky, kind of weird dude, kind of socially awkward dude. And man, I don't know if that's the dynamic you want to really connect with the players, especially a lot of young ones. But that may very well be the thing where he turns out a good coordinator, but not such a good coach. He's even done anything, but that's what I'm seeing.
You know what? You got a good point too, because we do have a lot of young introverts on this team, so it might take an extrovert to really like get them to come out of their shell and take the next step in development. But before we go off on a tangent, there was a question in the chat I definitely want to get you guys' thoughts on. Wild Wave submitted it. I want to ask you. He said, I wonder what's the holdup for the second round of interviews for GMs. I mean, consider that Tennessee hired a GM today. We still haven't gotten to the second round. So he says, are guys just taking the interview with us just to take it and don't actually want the job? What do you guys think is going on as far as, we've taken an interview and then nothing, dude. We've been out of a GM for 3 months. Murdoch, let me start with you. Go to Daniel and then Ricky. I want all y'all's thoughts on that.
Well, just to echo what Ricky was saying, I have zero issues if Spielman is the GM. I agree with everything you said about him. I always like Spielman. I have no issues if he's the guy. I just think there's no way the Jets are sitting on their hands, not being proactive with the hiring process. I think it's delayed for a reason. I think they have their eyes set on specific people that can't commit right now publicly, and that's the only reason why it's not full, like full bore, full steam ahead with hiring. That's the only thing that makes logical sense to me. This is a professional organization. Forget about our record. You can't come out and say like someone like Agnew or someone that's an assistant with a team currently alive is going to be the guy. I think it's for a reason, and I don't think it's because no one wants to come here. I just can't. I could be wrong. I just don't, in my bones, I just don't think that that's the case.
So you don't think any of them are like playing us just to, as a negotiation chip or anything like that, right?
No, not at the GM spot, especially. I personally, like a gun to my head, I think that I think it's all known what's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. I think the Super Bowl needs to happen, and I think that's when, certain teams get eliminated, and I think that's what it's going to be.
Because you can't hire them until they're eliminated. So
Right.
you think there's a handshake deal, basically.
Yeah, I think this one, like, let's just say it's a Ray Agnew. There's no way his son didn't call him up like, "Hey, Dad," just so you know what I mean, or like as an intermediary. It was almost like with Joe Douglas last year, like the first day of free agency. Oh my God, the Jets didn't do nothing. He doesn't know what he's doing. Then, the first thing went by, and then boom, 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 boom. He had a plan. He waited for, no jet tax. Like, I'm not overpaying for these guys. He knew he was going to get Tyron. He knew he was going to get this done. Trade for Morgan Moses, signing John Simpson. Like, he had a plan, and it just required not doing it the first second you're allowed to. Conversations are happening behind closed doors to where there's no tampering, there's no forfeiting picks, no losing picks. I just think it's being quiet right now. That's just my opinion on it. I could be wrong. That's just my gut.
Murph, what do you think? Do you think that people are leveraging us? What say you on this one?
No, I don't think so. I think just people are being patient because it takes a lot of patience. And I think there's something to be said too, is like, do you think when they're interviewing these head coaches, you don't think that they're not asking these head coaches, who would you be willing to work with? Out of all these guys, who would you be willing to work with? Like, who are the guys that you see that you might share ideals with and things like that? They're taking all that stuff into consideration, because if you interview 20 head coaching candidates and all 20 of them are like, yeah, dude, there ain't no way I could work with Ray Agnew, like, just hypothetically. Like, dude is not easy to get along with. Like, he all he cares about is receivers, and I'm a big guy, and I like the O-line and blah, 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 things like that. I think they're taking everything into consideration. They're just gathering information right now. And especially with GM, there's not many of those positions out there. Like, we're at this point, we're fighting with one other team, So I don't think there's just any, like, they're not rushing to anything. I think they're wanting to get all the first round of everything done, both head coach and GM, before they make their decision on GM.
All right. I like that. Ricky, what do you think, though? Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anybody in the GM spot in particular is like leveraging us. Even the head coaching spot, there's so few of those jobs. Like, an NFL coaching job is not easy to come by. Now, I will say that I think that's exactly what Vrabel did with us. A couple of weeks before this whole coaching thing started, he was up in the booth with Kraft at one of the Patriot games. Like, people trying to say, like, oh, I don't think that Vrabel knew they were going to fire Mayo. Bullshit. I guarantee you he knew way ahead of the fact that Mayo was going to get fired and he was going to get offered that spot. I think he did take the Jets interview honestly. I think he thought, before I make up my mind, let's hear what they have. So I don't think he was totally playing us, but it would have had to taken a really, really over the top offer from us, I think, to land him here. And you know what? He did have some success as a head coach, but between Derrick Henry, which is what everybody points to, but I think, in my opinion, even more so with AJ Brown, they carried him. I did not see him out coaching other teams on the regular. I saw two studs that carried that team. Where flip side, Aaron Glenn, I mean, half of that defense landed on an injured reserve, and he schemed and coached his way around those injuries and still had them producing, which was very impressive. And we're not talking was able to win a couple of games like that. We're talking about landed the number one seed like that. So that was a hell of a job that he did there. And yeah, I would just say I would be sorely disappointed if for some reason we didn't get Glenn. And I'm hoping the reason this is taking so long is because the guys that we want are guys that are still in contention. Make a move on them. And you know, my only worry with it being so long is it gives other teams the opportunity to strike. I think that somebody would really have to blow Aaron Glenn out of the water with an offer to make him go anywhere but here.
Well, I think Dano put it up on the list, put his list up before the available spots. Like the Cowboys, the Raiders, New Orleans. We are at the top of that list, probably with the Cowboys, just because it's the Cowboys.
Yeah. Well, now that the Cowboys are in the mix with, you know, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, they got a hellacious good secondary there. Like, they've got a lot of pieces. So, like, when people would say, oh, you know, the Bears is a more attractive job, why?
Yeah,
because they've got a quarterback that you don't really know if he's it or not. You know, had his number one receiver walking off the field on him.
That kid's a problem.
You know, the corpse of Keenan Allen out there who ain't going to be there next year.
Ricky, let me stop you because I want to get to the coaching one last nugget before we move on. Clancy didn't want us to gloss over this. So, I mean, all indications are that Glenn and Flores are like two of our second round interviews for sure. You don't think Glenn is even, or I'm sorry, you don't think Flores should even be a consideration. I think you had an F on him or an F minus.
Yep.
I want to know why.
It was like
we all.
Okay.
Dude, you got the next 60 to 90 seconds. I want to hear your sales pitch for us not signing him.
Okay, well, this is the thing. Like he didn't just alienate the players in Miami. He alienated the other coaches too. Nobody got along with the guy, and you know, I'm sorry. Like when somebody's an asshole. Excuse my language, like they don't just change and become a completely different person overnight. And this guy, after the blow up in Miami, he didn't just sue the Dolphins. He didn't just sue the NFL. He sued every team he had talked to. And by the way, he sued a New York football team, the Giants, and all he did was interview with them. And he tried to say, you know, oh, they only did it because of the Rooney Rule. I mean, how about being ungrateful for an opportunity? Turns around and sued somebody that was good enough to give him an interview. And this is the guy we want to interview? Yeah. I'm sure that our billionaire owner wants to, you know, hire the guy that sues everybody. No, I just, you know, like, I get it. People can learn some, you know, people can adapt to different situations. And I'm not saying that maybe he isn't capable of growing as a person, but when you're like really an asshole, like, you know, a tiger don't change his stripes. Like, you know, people like that, I don't think I just don't believe that he's changed at all. I made this prediction a couple of days ago. I'll repeat it. I think he ends up in Chicago. I think he ends up throwing Caleb under the bus just like he did to it, and I think it turns into an incredible disaster, and we're all going to be glad we had no part in it when it's all over with. And one last thing about coaching.
Go ahead.
One last thing about coaching is nobody else is really interviewing Gruden either. I hear that he's making so much money with Barstool that he's not really interested. But in the NFL, there's two things you can't come back from, or very hard to come back from. One is the Ray Rice effect when you put your hands on a woman. The other one is the Riley Cooper effect. When you make racist comments, it's very hard to come back from that. And I think there's a reason he's not interviewing with anybody. That's not just us. But that's all I'm going to say about that topic. But that's my reasons for Flores. I just don't think that would be a good fit, especially with, I just behind, a decision where it depends on him. Maybe he's changed. Maybe he's learned. Well, we don't have any evidence of that, so maybe not. I'm not going to try to talk myself into a guy that there are questions about.
Yeah, the thing about the Flores stuff, though, is like all those interviews, like the majority of his interviews weren't real interviews, and they were he was basically told like they didn't take him seriously at all. They didn't actually ask him all the questions that you ask a person in an interview. Like, it was blatantly obvious that they only had him sit in that room just so they could say, "Hey, we interviewed this guy." That was it.
Right.
And I can understand a guy getting frustrated at that. I mean, you go in there, you get your nice suit ready. You go in there, you have this plan laid out that you want to pitch to the team and stuff like that. They don't even ask you about it.
Right.
I could see, you just wasted my time. I can definitely see somebody being frustrated at that. But, and I understand an asshole is an asshole, right? But I think most of us would say Bill Belichick's an asshole, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a pretty successful asshole.
Well, Flores doesn't have the cachet that Belichick has, and you take a guy like for us as a Jets team and the fan base, the last thing we need is the potential of Brian Flores of old, be it bringing that here. We're in a very fragile state with this young core, more than people think. We're in a very fragile time. We're relying on our young kids to lead us into the future. He is the worst choice to bring into that locker room. The worst, because of his baggage. And I'm not taking the chance of trusting that he changed. There's plenty of new candidates that deserve the same opportunity that do not come in with that. I'd rather have Rex Ryan back than Brian Flores.
Yep.
And it has nothing to do with coaching acumen. Nothing to do with it, because he's a good coach. But not for us. We can't take that chance.
I get it. I understand not want to take a chance on it. And that's why a lot of us have said, like, hey, we'd like to have a guy with previous coaching experience, because we don't want to take a chance on a first-year guy, I mean, I get it. Like, everybody starts as a first-year guy. Like, Ricky, you said it earlier. Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan and Dan Campbell, which Dan Campbell was an interim for a while. So I guess it's different, but still. But yeah, right there, that alone tells you right there. Like, a lot of us have kind of made a little bit of a pitch for Flores, but if you're asking me between those two, it's a landslide, and I'm going Glenn every day. Flores is just like, if we hire him, I can get myself behind it. That's kind of how I look at it.
And
to Ricky's
go
point,
ahead, Murdoch.
Sorry, Dano. To Ricky's point, we've got about D'Amico Ryans for first coaching opportunity.
Yeah.
Look what he's done. He's a highly sought after coordinator, came in, and he's like another Aaron Glenn. The players love him. He's young, enthusiastic. He was a decent player. He fits well with their young core, because the Texans have a young core, and he fits in perfectly with them, and they're blossoming, right? So even with the young quarterback, so add that guy to Ricky's list, because he fits right in there.
Do you guys think that McCarthy was had a job until Tuesday, It's Friday, and we haven't scheduled an interview for him yet. But I think like by Tuesday, people were like jumping off roofs that we didn't have him on our list yet. Do you think we're just getting around to it? Do you think we're overlooking the guy? Is because Rich Sports Talk, and again, great channel on YouTube. He was on last week. He was a big Flores guy, and that's fine because he, like I said, he's a top 5 candidate. We just all want Glenn, but I bet you if Glenn wasn't there, we'd want Flores. But anyways, he's not happy that we're not even scheduled to interview McCarthy. Daniel, let me start with you, and we'll go around the horn. But let's not go too deep on it. But just, are you bummed or not that we don't even have McCarthy on the list yet?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense not to at least bring him in for an interview. The resume speaks for itself. I understand things fell apart in Dallas, but like he also had a couple 12-win seasons there, which by the way would match our most ever won in a season, our record. And we're just going to throw that away like, oh, no, he had a bad year in Dallas, he sucks. No, that's not how that works. Like the guy he's a good coach. You at least bring him in for an interview. The only reason I can see that they're not interviewing him is because the last time they talked to him, brought him in and everything, and things went sour or something, or there was something that turned Woody off of him or something, and that's why he's like, nah, I ain't even bothering with him this time. That's the only thing I can see as to why they wouldn't interview him.
Just bringing up some of the stats, like, dude, do we even have any credibility in knocking playoff performance? Like, let's just look at regular season. Not bad, right? Like you said, Daniel, 12 wins 3 years in a row. Not bad. But let's keep going, Daniel. You spoke out. Ricky, what say you on the McCarthy front? Or is it an oversight that we haven't even got him scheduled yet?
I don't necessarily think so. And in all fairness, with the playoff thing, the Cowboys have had 4 playoff games since 2009, the same amount as the Jets. They were one and done every single one of those 4 times, where our 4 playoff wins came in 2 years. We won 2 in each of those years, the 2 AFC championship years. Listen, these candidates are human beings just like everybody else. And sometimes human beings hold grudges. Man, we picked Adam Gase over McCarthy. Still be a sore spot with him. I honestly think the fact that we're not interviewing McCarthy probably says more about Aaron Rodgers' future with this team than it does the direction that we're wanting to go in. That's my thought.
Fair. What say you, Murdog?
Ricky just took the thought right out of my brain. With McCarthy not getting the interview, it did tell me that Woody Johnson is adamant about bringing Aaron back for another season. It's ultimately going to be, and maybe that could be part of the holdup. We're just throwing it out there, right? But maybe everybody that got interviewed so far was told by management, like, Aaron's the quarterback next year, just so you know. Maybe they were already told that. And maybe that's why we didn't sign somebody. I'm still going to go with it's Aaron Glenn. Maybe an Agnew, maybe a Spielman, but it also could be like, no, Woody's committed for 1 more year to Aaron. So I had that thought in my head, and Ricky just said it. So I don't know if McCarthy and Aaron had the best of relationships, especially towards the end. I don't want to put my name to it because I'm not completely sure if they had a falling out. But yeah, that was in my brain as well.
I mean,
well,
I'm not. Aaron has spoke glowingly of him, like even recently.
Publicly.
Pat McAfee, he spoke glowingly of McCarthy.
Yeah, when I said it, I was thinking the exact opposite, that they don't want to bring in McCarthy because they know there is no reunion in the future because Aaron isn't going to be here. Is the
True.
way I was
Yeah,
thinking of it.
That's my
You bring him in, you could pigeonhole yourself into a reunion with Rodgers. I see what you're saying.
Right.
Dude, there's so much we don't know. So literally all these theories have basis in reality. You know, you never know. Murdoch, you're doing excellent shit over there on your channel. Why don't you tell us us a little bit about it? Plug it in for us, man. Tell us where we can find you, and maybe tell us your Super Bowl prediction. Since we already got your head coach, your GM prediction, tell us what you think the Super Bowl will be, and we'll let you go, brother.
First, I think it's the Lions. I had the Lions in the Super Bowl and winning it since last year when they blew it to the 49ers. I thought they would this was going to be their year. I think the winner of this week's Bills-Ravens game will be their opponent. I don't see the Kansas City Chiefs getting there again. Not this year, not with Mahomes being as mediocre as he's been. This Chiefs team just does not feel like the juggernaut of past. I don't care about their record. I'm just saying I just don't feel it. Is it possible? Of course. I just feel this is like a Ravens or Bills year to get there. I don't think any of them beats the Lions. I don't see the Lions losing. Yeah, that could be wrong, but that's just what I feel. Their offense is too hard to stop. You could score on them, but outscoring them is another question. Let's see. Yeah, I have it under my name, Murdoch, youtube.com/@the_Jetstream. I've been doing, Jet games. I did Yankee playoff games, just watch-alongs, chill spot, come in there, talk, watch the game together like we're in the bar, although virtually because we can't be together. Yeah, it's just really watch-alongs. I'll probably be doing the playoffs this weekend as well, and in the off-season, probably do Yankee games.
Any draft content for you this year?
Yes, thank you. We have the PFF draft tool, the subscription to where we've been bringing on the screen after the games, just having fun with it. I wanted where everybody could do a draft, like somebody calls in and you call the shots. You do the draft. I click the button for you. You tell me what you want to do, whether you want to trade up, trade down, who you want to target. I'm looking at a lot of people's grades on PFF. Starting to identify guys that I'm interested in, and everybody who knows me knows I want that defensive line, that run game filled, because the loss of Quentin Jefferson and the trade of JFM destroyed our run defense. That's just how I feel. You went through the trenches. You got to dominate both sides of the ball. That's where my brain is at. So I'm looking at people's grades, not just, pass rusher and run defense from a defensive lineman. I'm looking at all these metrics. And we also have limited information right now. We still got to get through the East-West Shrine game. We got to get through the Senior Bowl. We got to get through the Combine. And none of that matters until we get through free agency. We might want to stud D tackle in our first-round pick, but what if we sign one? Then that need goes down and we look somewhere else. So but for now, it's just going to be for fun. But yeah, I encourage everyone to come hang out and call in to fuck around with the stream, with the draft tool. And it's just fun for now. And you get to learn a little bit about these players before we start getting more information. Right now we're limited, but it's still fun, Come play around. All right, brother, thanks for having me. Murph, I'm sad to see the guns aren't showing. I'm disappointed in you.
Can't put them away.
Ricky, always good to see you, brother. Ricky's like the Jets wizard. All information resides in Ricky.
Hey,
The wisdom.
You said
of the Jets
Lions and whoever wins this weekend of the Bills and the Ravens. Who do you got winning it all?
Jeez. The Lions. The Lions, I think, are winning it all.
I got you.
Yeah, I think the Lions are winning it all. But
Aaron Glenn, baby.
It's like a hot
Aaron
team.
Glenn.
I'm discounting the Chiefs right now. Yeah, and Aaron Glenn, yeah. That's what I'm saying. We'll have to wait till after the Super Bowl to get our guys into place. But then it's got to hit the ground running, because there's a lot of scouting and a staff has to be put together. So, and for all, we know it's a wait and see. We got to have patience. Jet fans, we don't have patience.
Facts.
We don't.
Hey, have a good night, brother.
All right, brother. Be good. See you later.
Ricky Murdoch had a couple minutes before you. I wanted to ask you kind of the same thing. I want to hear what you think the playoffs will shape up for, but there was a question in the chat I wanted to ask as well.
Okay.
Rich Sports Talk had a really good point here. He said it's bad optics when we have double-digit coaching interviews, including freaking Maryland Turpin's guy. We brought him in, and we still don't bring in McCarthy. Any last words on the McCarthy front? I know you kind of are like me, and you're looking at Glenn, so you really don't care about the collateral damage. I'm wondering maybe we want McCarthy to go to New Orleans so we can have Glenn. But any thoughts on that? And then tell us about the NFL playoffs. Where are you at with that stuff?
Yeah, I think I covered that pretty much already. I mean, we don't know. For all we know, he declined an interview with us. Maybe he isn't interested. Who knows? I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to get upset because we're interviewing a guy that I don't really want anyway. So, I mean, I don't know. Is that, ownership has a clear vision for what they want this team to be and the direction they want to go. And I don't know, maybe for whatever reason, they don't feel he fits that narrative. I think at the end of the day, and hopefully I'm right about this, the team is just worried about picking the right guy, making the best hire possible, and they don't really give a shit about the optics or what we might or might not think. They're concentrated on taking care of their business the best way they see fit. And so as far as the playoffs, I kind of feel the same way as Murdoch, except even though Kansas City may not have looked how they have in the past, man, it's hard to beat a team when you're playing 11 guys versus 15 because they got those other 3 players with the white and black stripes on. That it makes it really fucking hard, man. It's hard to win when you're outnumbered like that. So I don't know. I can't. First of all, I can't wait to see the Bills get knocked out this week. But I kind of somehow do see Kansas City making their way back. However, I don't think they win another one. I do think it will be Detroit go all the way. And then we can hire the Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator.
I love it. Murph, what say you? Any last thoughts for Ricky here?
No, I mean, I get the Kansas City thing, but I think even if the NFL is rigged, they gotta make it not so obvious and take a year off.
Right.
I mean, if you want my Super Bowl prediction, I think this is the year the Bills finally make it to the Super Bowl, but I think they're going to do what the Bills do, and they're going to lose the Super Bowl to the Lions.
I love that. We'll get into that. If you have a few, Murph, stick around.
Yeah.
Ricky, any updates on your channel or anything personal or anything you want to add?
Right. I'm probably going to make a few standalone videos here and there pretty soon. As we get closer to the draft, I'll put out my luck, which is like the 13th one. This will be year 13 of me doing that. Ricky New York's Mockley Crew for 2025.
I like that.
And so that'll be coming out, and just basically I'm going to be watching a shitload of film and continue to break down prospects. And as we get closer to that, I'll probably do a video after the Senior Bowl, which we got a kicker who is can't miss, and also a very good corner from FSU that are good, both at the Senior Bowl. So, which I did expect to see that corner flying up draft boards after that Senior Bowl because he's like 6'2", lanky, and just shut down as can be. So I think a lot of people ignored him because of the year the team overall had, but I have a feeling when they see the way this kid plays, he's going to start shooting up, which he's already like out just kind of on the fringe of top 10, but I see him jumping up as it goes on. But yeah, I'll keep you guys updated on anything. Like for right now, it's just going to be, like I said, probably some pre-recorded standalone videos. The live thing I'm not going to kick off till next season. Just give me time to fine tune everything and get it just how I want, as opposed to a rushed product, because you guys know me. If there's anything about me, I do my homework, I do my research, and I come ready. So the show will be the same.
If I learned one thing about making videos that aren't live, it's published is better than perfect. So never forget that, dude. Just upload, upload, upload. Don't try to perfect everything. Just exactly what it says. Publish is better than perfect. So that's what I'll say, man. Hey, have a good night, Ricky.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great night,
brother.
See you, brother. Head coaching search, man. Deep in the thick of it. Next week, we're going to know so much, man. We got some picks to do, man. I'm sorry. It's late, man. Do you have time to...
about it. What a night, though. It's been a night of a lot of good football talk.
Facts.
But hell yeah, dude. We can do some picks. I could still go on head coach shit if you want.
Dude, to be honest, I was kind of
we could do out of left field candidates. We could do.
Dude, so I kind of cut you off because of how late it was. Do you have any like that we didn't talk about at all, or like it sucks when you're limited to who they interviewed? Maybe someone that you are pissed we didn't, because I have a feeling by Monday we're gonna be segueing to second interviews, and then like you're not gonna bring in a guy that you haven't interviewed at all yet. So like last chance. Is there anyone you're kind of hoping tomorrow you hear we're talking to?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I think it's unlikely. I think the list that we've heard and the guys that they've requested at the very least, I think the list is pretty much done. But I mean, a couple guys that I was thinking of that was like out of nowhere type guys that could potentially pop up I don't know. You never know. A guy that I've had my eye on for years now, at least a few years probably, is Matt Campbell over at Iowa State University. He's been the head coach over there for a long time. He really changed the culture of that program and built it into something. And they've since then they've produced talents in the first round, which was unheard of for them previously, and that he just seems like a good coach, like a guy that just loves ball, knows ball, and is just a good coach. That would be a guy that would intrigue me. But jumping straight from college to NFL, you never know if that'll work or not. And our girl Hazel mentioned another one that I like a lot, Kellen Moore, the old Boise State lefty. I think the guy knows offense. I think he'd be an excellent candidate. I mean, I don't know if I'd have him in the A tier or anything, but he'd probably be somewhere in the B's or whatever for me if they went with Kellen Moore. I think that'd be an intriguing option. Then you got other guys like Pete Carroll, Deion Sanders, and stuff, but I don't want to talk about them. Pete Carroll's older than mummy dust, and Deion Sanders, no way I'd want him in the New York market. No way. But you never know.
Kellen Moore, that would be interesting, man. I was kind of hoping we'd get like an interview with Dan Lanning. There's only a $20 million buyout there, or I don't know. The list that we have put together, I don't think that who we eventually hire is going to come from off of it. So, I don't know. If I notice a guy later on down the off season where I'm like, oh, why didn't we? Or why didn't the timing work out? We'll talk about it then. But of the ones listed, I'm like Flores, Glenn. It's hard to go past that, but
Joe Brady for me.
Joe Brady, yeah, Joe Brady for sure. I don't want anyone 60 and over, so that limits some guys. McCown, I would consider a dark horse, but man, it would be nice to get him with one of the other guys. The other thing about Glenn that I worry is that if we get him and Ben Johnson leaves, and all these guys leave Detroit, then I feel like it will hamper a little bit of what Glenn can bring with him. Like the best case scenario, I think, would be that Glenn leaves and Johnson stays, because then maybe an assistant or two shakes free and comes our way rather than picking between Glenn and Johnson and Campbell. But no, honestly, I think the guys that we gave the strongest grades to, I think that's what we're dealing with for our second round of interviews. I do. Adirondacks with us, or with me, with us, whatever. He says he thinks Glenn is our guy. A Super Bowl win and a solid game on defense will seal the deal. McCarthy is a sleeper pick if A-Rod comes back, but I think, don't you have to choose that before you know? McCarthy and A-Rod could end up in Tennessee together. Woo! So you think Borgonzi going to Tennessee, he's gonna get rid of the Callahans. Any insight on that?
After 1 year, they're like, nah, we don't like it. Psst, get.
I guess so, man. Tough. There's precedent now with Mayo.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. I don't think we need to stall any longer. I did put in the chat what our scores were from last week. I don't have it anymore, but I'm sure it's down there. Let's just get into this week's slate of games. And if you want to still call in, you still can. We'll get you on, but you got only a few minutes left to get in on the action. Jump right to the first game tomorrow, brother, at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. And just a reminder, guys, even if you weren't with us last week, it's fine. You jump right in. You want to tell us who you think will win the game, period. If they're an underdog in the game, though, you get 2 points. Like the Texans are underdogs here. You get 2 points if you pick Texans and they win. If you pick the Chiefs, who are the favorites, you only get 1 point. So it kind of entices you to maybe jump somewhere you weren't going to before. But this one I don't think is that enticing to pick the underdog on. Where are you at with this game? Since it's just the two of us, what do you think about the game in general before you pick who you think? It's up to you, brother. But in Arrowhead, do they get upset this early?
No. Like I said earlier, the Texans and the Chargers, like that was the two worst teams in the playoffs on both sides, NFC, AFC. They just so happened to play each other. So the Texans got lucky to actually even get past the first round. They're not going to get past the Chiefs, but I think the Chiefs are going to do what they've done all year long, and they're going to drag it out to the fourth quarter, and then Mahomes is going to do Mahomes things, and, another fourth quarter comeback, and they're going to win it, But the Chiefs will take it.
I'm with you, man. Let me see, because I'm having trouble getting the messages in the studio, but if I put them on screen, then they're all there. So, guys, let us know if you're a KC guy for 1 point or if you're Houston for 2. You're right, man. I do think it's a low-scoring game. What is that, 41.5? They might struggle getting there.
Yeah, I think that's, I was thinking like 2017 or something like that. I think it'll be around that 40 point mark, roughly.
I'm with you. High 30s, maybe. Stacks with the Chiefs. I do plan on picking an upset this week. I do have a bit of a lead. Trust me, I'm not going to take the safe route. I'm going to still pick just like there's only, 7 games left. So We got to make it fun. Because I got lucky last week on a couple games. But this one's not the one. Going Chiefs for sure. Hopefully Johnny gets his picks in too, because he is tied for third. So is Infrared. So make sure you guys pick the games. Clancy's in on the Chiefs as well. Chiefs, I think it's a straight ticket Chief. But Jerry, let us know what you want to do. The rest of you guys. I'm going to go to the next one, though. And shout out to the 66 people that tuned in from Twitter tonight. We appreciate you guys as well. Hop over to YouTube, hit the like, man. You would be forever. We would be forever grateful. But thanks for tuning in. Chiefs from Jerry. All right. Well, let's see what we got next, man. All right. We got tomorrow night the Commanders at the Lions, and I'll tell you all day. I watched a couple streams today, and Jets Media, Richie, is a Jaden Daniels truther, man. I can't. The Lions, it's a cold take these days, but I'm picking the Lions, man.
Yeah, I'm going with you on that too. Jaden's had an incredible season. You know, if they get knocked out by who might potentially be the Super Bowl winner, there is nothing to be ashamed of. You know, in his rookie year, I got to go Lions there. I just don't see a way that the Commanders are going to pull that one off.
Yeah, I'm with you. As a matter of fact, what is that? That's 55.5 is. Dude, it wouldn't shock me if this was like a 21-13. I don't know why. I just feel like it's not going to be a shootout. But, yeah, Lions.
You remember the preseason when we had the joint practice with the Commanders and we absolutely beat the dog shit out of them. And we're all like, oh, they're such a terrible team. We're so much better than them. 12-5.
Yeah, well, in the preseason, I remember they had their starters in for one drive and Jaden went right down the field on us. But even then, I didn't believe. Yeah. And like you said, man, 12-5, damn. Like they made it look easy. Mm-hmm. Here we are. We haven't won 12 games. 12 games the last 2 years combined. They got a new ownership group, a new quarterback, and they got 12 this year.
New head coach. Yep.
Yeah. No more Riverboat Ron. Shit. All right. Well, let's go to the next one. Here, I'm going to do this.
Lions for everybody, I think.
Yeah. I think the next two might give us a little more diversity. Let's see. So Sunday, moving on to Sunday, make sure you get your Lions Commanders picks in.
These Sunday games are the ones that are gonna be interesting.
100%. So we got the Rams at the Eagles, who did not look great last week. The Rams looked epic. I'll start because I'm just gonna tell you, man. I'm gonna pick the Rams in it. I'm gonna pick the Rams. You know what? If you go Rams, I'll go Eagles.
No, you go with whoever you think is going to win the game.
I do, dude. They're red hot.
That's yeah. And it's just like there's not many teams in the league that I think would knock the Eagles off, but it's just right now I feel like the Rams are a team that could do it.
Yeah, and they've been there, most of them.
Yeah.
It's a shame because I don't know about you, but like I like watching Philly when they're red hot because they're a fun team to watch. Maybe, what is this? 43. It'd be nice if this game got to 55. Like that would be a fun game to watch.
Oh yeah.
Stacks going Rams. You going Rams too? You said.
Yeah.
Straight ticket. All right. See what others have to say. Man, dude, there's only 4 games this week. Next week there's gonna be 2, and then 1, and yeah, dude, it sucks, man. Oh shit. Stafford pulls the upset from Adirondack. Rams for Jerry. Nobody's picked.
I can already hear the whole like Stafford versus Goff and the NFC Championship chatter. I can hear it all already. You know.
If all right, you know what? I'm gonna take an executive decision, and I'm gonna go Eagles. Because
don't change it just because. Come on now.
To make all right, fair.
Just go with what you truly think is going to happen.
Truly Rams. I do.
Okay.
All right, 1 left. Let's see. Replace that image with the final one. Hopefully it's not as one-sided. Ravens at Bills. And correct me if I'm wrong, does that say that the Bills are worth 2 points at home and the Ravens are only worth 1 away? That's a tough one.
Circle the wagon, man. It's the Bills.
It is the Bills. The Bills for 2 at home. I'm going to go Ravens for 1 on the road.
Are you saying that just to be different?
No, I do like Lamar in this. I feel like as much as the MVP race shouldn't come down to this game, I feel like if I'm Lamar, I want to just slaughter this team, even if it means I got to run for 120. Like, I feel like Lamar is that guy. I don't know if Josh is. If it's a shootout, if it's not, different story. But Derrick Henry, Lamar, Flowers hopefully coming back. They got tight ends they haven't even tapped into yet. Like, yeah.
They haven't even announced, like, they don't do MVP until after playoffs, huh?
There's like an award ceremony after the Super Bowl even, I think.
Why do they do that? Because you know that people are going to be influenced by the playoffs.
Well, what I don't know is
spanks him here. You know?
What I don't know is when they collect the ballots.
Oh, that's fair.
You know. Because I've seen guys on Twitter already say who they casted their like ballot for, but yeah, I don't know. Clancy is with me on the Ravens. Where are you at with this one? Did I miss it?
Bills, dude.
Okay.
I told you who my Super Bowl pick is, so.
True. I got lucky last week with a home team being worth 2. I forget which one it was, but like this is the one to strike on. But man, I don't know. I guess I'm a Lamar truther, you could say. Maybe it's because he won,
just because he won you a bunch of money this season.
It is. That is. Him and Gibbs, who both won me money this season. They're 2 of the most exciting for me to watch, though. Like,
I always like Gibbs. I actually, and really, it was a bit of a stretch, but I actually liked Gibbs more than I did. Dude for the Falcons, Bijan. Yeah, in that draft, I actually liked Gibbs more.
Oh, nice. See, I didn't get to see him in college. Where did he go?
Gibbs was in Alabama.
Alabama. Ooh, that had to be electric.
Yeah. Cool. I don't know that he's better than Bijan, but he's still a very, very good player. You know.
It depends. Is Artie Smith coaching him?
Exactly. Imagine if Ben Johnson was coaching Bijan.
Yeah, exactly. We got Infrared went Ravens as well. Anyone take Bills besides Murph, man? You had 2 points. That's a good deal.
I need to catch you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's honestly it all hinged on Texans Chargers. But I'm selling my Texans stock, that's for sure.
I don't blame you.
I can't believe though that game went down the way it did, to be honest. The Chargers just crumbled.
Yeah, which was crazy. Everybody says Harbaugh is such a good coach, but didn't look like it in the playoffs there.
No.
I mean, I guess you could say that. I guess you could blame it on Herbert, I guess, but I don't know.
Henry, yeah, I want to see Henry. Dude, that Sunday night game is going to be awesome. But I just can't stomach, I guess, the Chiefs anymore. Like, you can win today, but then you got to lose. Like, I'm over that. Like, you can make the Final Four, but it's time for another. And it's sad because this might be the in my opinion, the best Chiefs team the last 3 years. Just well-rounded. I don't know.
Chiefs?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think they've really looked like. I mean, they've won a lot of games, but
they have weapons. Well, yeah, on paper, I guess I should say, because they got Hollywood Brown coming back. Like, they're adding weapons. They got Hopkins now. They got Worthy clicking. They got Pacheco going. They got Kareem Hunt. Like, it's crazy, crazy. They're gonna dismantle the Texans.
See, I think they're going to win like they have all year.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll be down like 17-13, and then Mahomes will get that last, late fourth quarter touchdown, and that'll be it.
Fair. Assuming that Texans show up. Got some late guys filing in. Hit the like, man. We just picked the games. If you guys are late, throw who you think will win all 4 of them in the chat. We keep track week to week, and we'll score check next week and see how everyone did. Dude, I think we've about run out of takes, man. It's been 3.5 hours. Do you have anything final to add? I mean, we went through all the coaches. If you're late joining us, feel free to go back. We went through each coaching candidate individually, gave them their flowers or whatever you want to call it. But Fortnite, that's all I see. Anyways, anything last minute to add?
I would like to say, I do think that we're getting a GM here soon. I think probably this coming week. I would like to say that based on who the GM is, we might have a good idea who the coach is going to be, but I actually don't believe that. I don't think that these connections that everybody makes is going to make that big of a difference. Like, I think the guys that are out for these positions, like they have respect around the league, right? That's why they're being interviewed for these positions. So I think even if like a GM hasn't worked with a coach before in any capacity, doesn't mean that he won't hire him, because he may still have respect for that guy. Like these guys, they watch what goes on in the league. They see these people. It's not just on their paper, the resumes, it's on tape. So just because like they hire, I don't know, like some executive from the Lions to be the GM doesn't mean that they're going to hire Aaron Glenn as the coach. I think that I think it's all up in the air, man. But I do think we're getting a GM soon.
Yeah, like I said, this time next week, hopefully we have one. Hopefully that head coach list is 5 or 6. Would it shock you if we had like 1 or 2 second interviews and then we just hired a guy? Or do you expect to see like 5 or 6 get second interviews and then we go hiring?
I don't think there'll be second interviews for the GM.
I'm sorry, head coach. Yeah, sorry.
But
Do you think you can win the head coach job in your second interview? Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, yeah, I guess so. The GM's going to have a say in it, so yeah. I mean, if they're smart, they would have the GM have a say in it.
Dude, there's a lot of speculation that John Eric Sullivan will be GM here by like Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a terrible hire.
No, it wouldn't.
There's quite a few GM candidates out there that you know, I wouldn't be mad at.
Yeah. Dude, I don't care what you do. Just at least draft wisely this year, and we'll see how you manage a 2025 season that I'm not going to blast even further. But let's see how you navigate that, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not going to be a one year thing. We're not going to be fucking 13-4 next year, but if we can make some strides, start to get that culture turned around, you know, build the foundation for what they're wanting to do in the future, that'll be something to be excited about.
No all gas, no brakes.
No, God, no. No more stupid mottos.
All right, dude. Let's send it out, man. Hey, good stream, man.
All right. Fun times, guys.
Yep.
See you next week.
Yes, sir.
You're in the danger zone.
I love the show. I love you guys. Fucking, let's go Jets. Jets, Jets.
Oh, I'm beating you with my mind. And I can still dominate, I think.
Dane, you're a legend, bro.